Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What's going on, everybody? How are you guys doing this evening? I hope you're doing well. Look, we got a funny stream ahead. At least I think it's funny because it feels to me as if we have devolved into this point. Hey, Kaiser, what's up? Within the Bears fandom, where there are some that like what we're seeing from currently the Bears' most important asset, and then there are others that hate what we're seeing on the other side of the ball so much that it's polluting a fun performance. I'll tell you what I think is interesting. And look, I think Chicago Fanatic, first of all, you're probably on the right track. Second of all, sorry about the lack of bear with us. Nick was out hunting. We couldn't line the schedules up. It's been a busy work week for me and will remain that way. It's fine. That's life, right? But here's something that I certainly think is interesting. Okay? Look, I'm a Bears fan through and through. And I'm an analyst. And I try to shoot straight with you guys. Lest we forget, 2 weeks ago, we looked at the Bears situation, and I came to the conclusion that we might be hosed, right? And I basically said to something to the effect of, like, I understand that maybe the Bears will be the blind squirrel that finds a nut, but I don't understand why it is that we would keep believing in this team, right? Since then, Caleb has managed to take two divisional games that shouldn't have been close, and he has made them both close regardless. The Packers game, he created a game-winning opportunity, and if I could be honest, okay, let's take a step back. I'm going to say something, and chances are somebody could get mad about it. A miracle happens, and it's the only reason we get the opportunity to see Caleb Williams put the Bears in position to tie the game. I personally, everybody wants to talk about the sack, right? Vikings can't fail on an onside kick like that. They're the only team that has done so this season. I mean, you want to talk about a miracle. I get it. The Bears made mistakes of their own. I'm not trying to tell you that the ball doesn't lie. You get it. I think you guys follow what I'm saying. Thank you so much, MJ50. I'm more saying that in both of these games, in the Packers game and in the Vikings game, I think the Bears, based on the product that they put on the field, deserved to lose both by more. But they didn't. Part of that's because of their quarterback, and that's awfully nice. I mean, I feel as if we've been watching players, especially in Chicago for a hot while, that have either been a win in spite of quarterback or a win with quarterback, with flashes of win because of. Over the last couple weeks, I feel like Caleb has been a net win because of quarterback. We're going to dig into the tape for a couple hours. These streams have been getting normal length as opposed to stupid long, so I'll try to be time efficient. But I did want to start with a couple things that I certainly thought are interesting. First stat, I punched this into StatMuse, so if StatMuse is wrong, sue StatMuse, don't sue me. But the numbers certainly seem about right. These are the total number of yards. You're trying to look at this column right here in orange. This is the total number of single game yardage for a rookie quarterback, right? And so 15th, we've got Rex Grossman with 249. 20th, we've got Tyson Bagent with 232. Mitchell Trubisky at 11th. Working our way up, we've got 2 Justin Fields rookie games. We've got 2 Mitch Trubisky rookie games. And the current owner of the top 2 games as a rookie are Caleb Williams, which is nice, right? This doesn't mean everything, right? I would even tell you that I think chances are this Carolina performance with 29 pass attempts means a little more to me than this one right here in Indy and this one right here against Detroit. Oh, thank you, Austin. I always forget about not looking at the chart. So now that we've transitioned, I guess we're going to get into the tape here soon. But so this is punching things into StatMuse, right? And so you look further down, you see all kinds of names that you probably recognize from back in the past, including but not limited Cade McNown, Jim McMahon, Justin Fields, Mitch Trubisky. Mitch's second best game is 6th on this list. Cade's best game is 5th on this list. Justin's Pittsburgh game is 7th on this list. And Caleb Williams currently has the 4th, 2nd, and 1st highest yardage in a game games. I, again, would argue that this is probably the most efficient Bears rookie quarterback performance in franchise history, for whatever matters to you. Are they playing in the background? I don't hear anything. But so let me see. That's goofy. Yo, what's you doing, Woo? But I appreciate the fact that in a game like we saw on Sunday, Caleb Williams was a huge part of the reason, if not the reason, that the Bears were competitive on offense, which is all you really want. I would love more defense, but we're hitting a point where, here, let's go on this adventure together. So NFL average yards per play. Right now, if we look at yards per play, it looks as if, well, I always like to just take the median, right? You go 16th. So the LA Chargers are in 2024 5.4 yards per play, right? And then we take a look and we look at Bears Packers 2024. Let's go. Sure, ESPN. That'll do. Then we go team stats. We look at yards per play over here. Yards per pass is 14, which, never phenomenal. Let's see. Do they have yards per play here? Do they not? What a pain. I guess we got to divide it. Oh, no, here it is. 8.5 yards per play. So let's use an example. In the Packers-Bears game, the Packers were more efficient than the league's best offense, Baltimore, at 7 yards per play. So then let's take a look at the game just a little while ago, just on Sunday, right? How did the Bears do yards per play wise against the Vikings? Well, the Bears against the Vikings gave up, load for me, ESPN, 7 yards per play. So the most yards per play in the NFL, tying Baltimore at 7. And I'm saying this personally because when your defense gives up this kind of yardage, I understand people are going to point to point totals. I'll point to points per drive. You're probably going to lose the game, right? Especially if I told you that the Bears had they have a rookie quarterback that's making starts against verifiably decent defenses, and San Francisco is still second. At least it seemed like it. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. They're chewing it up. And then Detroit, Green Bay, and then where's Minnesota? Down here at 12th. Bears are probably pretty low. Yeah, they're 4.6 yards per play. Though at least today on Sunday, they were 5.5 yards per play. I wonder how they did against the Packers. I bet it was lower. I bet it was like 4.9 yards per play, maybe 5 flat. Let's see. 5.8 yards per play. Okay. Bear down. Point being, anyways, that I understand talking about wins and losses. I think there will be other seasons where talking about wins and losses is slightly more relevant, which sucks to say, right? I would love to be talking about a 5-5 Bears team right now, because if you take the Titans game away and you take this one away, which they lost anyways, but then you add back the other two, you land at a 5-5 team, which is about how they feel, right? Do we agree? That's a 5-6 team, I think. Yeah, I think it's a 5-6 team. So then if you still somehow get the Titans game, but you win the other two, then everybody will point out, as I'm sure you've heard, that they're 6-5, which would be great. But 5-6, 6-5, that's about where I think this team probably warrants being. It'd still be a good season for a rookie quarterback. Instead, they're 4-7. And they're pretty much dead in the water. But that is what it is. Truly, I'm sitting here as the Bears analyst that's definitely also a fan of the team, telling you that sometimes your coach botches a Hail Mary. Sometimes your kicker can't seem to kick anything below or above 40 yards without bashing it, is the technique I've always known it to be called, which is a very low trajectory kick and creates problems. Sometimes your team plays incredibly undisciplined football, and like we see today on offense, and we're about to go through the tape, sometimes everybody makes a couple mistakes, but to still be in those games is awfully great. And I am loving to just hit you with the tail or with the back of the book, right? So let me use a silly example. There's a 2-play series that we're going to talk about. It would be weird if we didn't, right? It's right here, third drive of the game. where they go 3rd and 11. That's the botch. Is this? Yeah, okay. We're going to come back to that one. Everybody, from a highlight perspective, is talking about this play right here. And I'll let you watch it all as we talk through it. Caleb gets out of the pocket, sees DeAndre Swift, flicks the ball down the field. Absolutely picture perfect throw. I'm talking this couldn't be placed any better, right? Man in his face, drifts beautifully between two defenders. Ball right on the sidelines. DeAndre Swift, great catch over his eye line. Take a look from behind. This looks so good, right? Caleb sees the blitz. Here, let's get the snap. I'll talk it out as it goes. Caleb sees the blitz, gets outside the blitzer, throws the ball. Beautiful. I mean, couldn't hand it to him any better. And watch this. How does he get it off? Spectacular. From a body torque perspective, biomechanically, you hear me say that a lot on this channel, but truly, this is a spectacular athletic feat, right? One more look. Flick. Got him. Also love, because I only just saw this. Like, look at this. Swift sees it and then checks if he's about to get lit up, realizes he's good to go, and just focuses on hauling it in. Honest to goodness, kudos to Swift. Like, you could say whatever you wanted to about maybe, I don't know, being a wuss or something like that. It is an NFL job, and it's an NFL player's job to protect himself. I love that Swift looks normal catching the football. And Chicago, you mentioned it's a hospital ball, and it's like, yeah, it's a hospital ball if the safety's there, but the safety's not there. When you drop it in over this guy and with 5 yards of space, I don't think it's a hospital ball. And I would tell you if it was. Everybody's focused on this play, right? And I would wind it back and I would say, I think it's a great recovery, but I think that the initial play he actually gets, I think that the initial play he gets fooled a little bit. It looks to me like Caleb is so focused on identifying whether or not the safeties are going to drop or nail down, and they end up in what is basically like a quarters zero look where it looks like this guy's in man but locked off. We go there, we go there, we go there. The lockbox, right? But so it's a quarters look with a man lock and everybody else is blitzing. And Caleb looks like he gets fooled and doesn't realize that 43 is coming. By the time he does, he's got to go be an athlete. Who's wide open? Honestly, DeAndre Swift. It's simple, right? Like basic quarterbacking. This is your Matt Ryan, Matt Hasselbeck. Like, I'm sure you could come through plenty of other examples. Nick Foles, right? You got to get it to the flat. And when you do, 2 might drive down on it. But if 2 drives down on it, then you've got Swift with a chance to make a play. Blah, 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 blah. You get it. Great recovery, right? I'm not trying to take a darn thing away. Not trying to take a darn thing away from Caleb. More saying that an athletic recovery is important, but it's not that perfect quarterbacking. You get what I'm saying? But I'll tell you what it is. You go back just a couple plays earlier. What gets me excited? What has gotten me excited all season? It's Caleb's willingness to attack tight windows over the middle. And it does not get much tighter than this right here. Like a rocket shot that, oh my goodness, just gets by the outstretched hands of 43. This is the kind of throw from an aggressiveness perspective that I, for years, have settled with just checking it down to DJ. And I've said, yeah, good job checking it down. This is late. Like, as far as when Caleb ought to, from an orthodox perspective, when ought he throw this ball? Well, if 43 is going to hunt it like this, you probably want to start throwing it now so that you can weave it in just behind the guy. The fact that Caleb gets to it when he does is such a wild, in my opinion, display of arm talent that, I mean, it's the kind of thing that can't help but get me really, really excited. You attack that kind of window against this kind of defense, and the defense is going to have to adjust. And I originally thought that it might have been nearly picked off, but it's pretty safe. You could argue it sort of goes through one of his hands, but it looks to me like it just tucks behind him. Boom. And everybody does their job, blocks it well. That's just a window that the overwhelming majority of Bears quarterbacks, if not quarterbacks, just don't even try for. Caleb tries for it, gets what he wants. The Bears break off a massive explosive because he's able to thread the ball into a window. And yeah, I'm going to have a hard time getting upset about a sack at the end of the game when the Bears' rookie quarterback in his rookie season bows up against EPA per play's number one defense in the league and puts up 340 on 7.5 yards per attempt with 0 INTs. Say what you will. Say what you will about opportunities that he did or didn't get. But that's sicko. And Alexander, that's the other thing, right? If a linebacker, so the linebacker goes hunting for it, I would expect that there's a chance that gets tipped. And if it gets tipped, hopefully it doesn't volleyball straight to this guy. But in the, again, Nick Foles sense, the orthodox sense, I think most quarterbacks would see 43's hip turned this way and check it down. And then you got DJ Moore in open space. There's nothing wrong with that decision. But boy, howdy, if you can hit this window, which can't be much bigger, honest to goodness, that ball can't be much bigger than the size of a football. You can do some, you could throw some, you have access to a lot more plays than a lot of people do. And I think that's pretty great. And for his mentions, agreed, was Caleb's first NFL OT game. Just got a bit amped up. That plus, I do think Flores got him. I mean, let's be so real here. You don't have to excuse it. We don't have to. It's not on me to tell you that Caleb, in 46 attempts, technically 49 dropbacks, had 3 sacks, and this one was really bad. But that's part of being a rookie. You got to learn your lessons. For instance, here's the play design. We'll skip right to the end, just because we might as well talk about all of it. It's not like there's a ton here, right? First off, I think Flores does a great job of scheming this up. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the line. We look like we're in a similar look. Like if I was to tell you what is this showing pre-snap, this to me is showing cover 6, right? So we've got 1, 2, and then you've got it's cover 4 on this side, and it's cover 2 on this side. What's up, Donald? I got you. Thank you so much. And plus, with this alignment right here, this guy could very well be coming. I'll tell you what, this is an exotic it's an exotic as heck defense. Like, what's coming? I'm not sure either. Brian Flores drops 3 on it, one of them being a spy. So what do they get to? They get to a poach-like call that imitates Tampa 2. So it looks to me like it is a funky way to get to Tampa 2, where we've got the whole play pretty much bracketed. Because the Bears go out. Ooh, here. We'll go these zones. And then we'll switch colors, because we've got that technology to go out, curl, and then I think there was another bunch here that goes here, corner route. Is there a place you can put the ball? Not really, right? Does that excuse the following? Where we hang around in the pocket, hang around in the pocket, hang around in the pocket, back up, and take an absolutely crippling sack? No, it doesn't. You can live in both worlds. It's an unacceptable quarterbacking play, but it's not like we broke anything crazy open. Keenan Allen, I think it is, ultimately shakes loose on this side of the play. Like, once the play takes forever, 44 ends up caught in no man's land. And when Caleb backs up a little bit, maybe if he finds nope, and then Keenan covers himself. So there you go. This is a pick lane. This is a pick lane. This is something. Caleb's got to throw it away. That's all I'm saying. Like somebody asked, why are Swift and Cole blocking the same guy? Because that's Cole Kmet on a defensive end. You're running a play action ball, so you end up with a double block here, and both of them hold. Here's honestly my biggest issue with it. A lot of people have pointed to Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift releasing at the same time. No. Once you get to here, the play is over. It has to be over. You have to run the ball. You have to throw it away. You have to do something else. Like once you count to 5, nobody on the field has any idea what's going on anymore. I'm completely serious. Like you got to remember that Cole Kmet is standing there blocking, as is DeAndre Swift. They just didn't hear a whistle. Right? And the guy that they're dealing with is still fighting for the ball. So I guess we didn't throw it yet, right? But they don't know. They don't have eyes in the back of their head. So both of them decide to be helpful at pretty much the same time. Sure, it's bad luck, but I would argue that we take too long. But that doesn't take an expert. Caleb lines up to the right side, realizes that the Bears don't have anything. Right here, it looks as if he looks for a check down and doesn't see one. At least my guess is that either Swift or Kmet was supposed to come off sooner. My guess would be that it would be Swift, but I mean, it's not like that's great either. We're hunting that side of the ball. We can just say that one of the best defensive coordinators in the league got us on this play, and he did. Brian Flores got him. Caleb made it worse because around now, nobody has any idea what to do. We've created some space, but the only defensive end that isn't on the ground gets a free runner, and that's fine. And like Jibby's saying, y'all, I just want to point at this because a lot of people call Jibby Guy a lot of names, but he's absolutely right here because when the kid earns it, you're going to get it. And I think, Jib, this was great. Last week was great. It would have been even neater if Caleb Williams had somehow won the game in overtime. Would have been awesome. He didn't. He had a rookie mistake. That's fine. To be honest with you, Jibby, I hope this isn't inflammatory, folks. I don't think the Bears were the better team. It doesn't bug me that they didn't pull out a miracle because I thought that between a pretty poor defensive performance, especially situationally, some horrible coaches' challenges, some really nasty drops, a ton of pre-snap penalties, and sure, some iffy decisions by the quarterback while they're at it, who's a rookie. I didn't think the Bears were better than the Vikings. And the fact that they almost stole it off the back of an onside kick is in and of itself pretty funny. Like, it's wild to me that the Bears were as close as they were, given how poorly I thought they played. Yeah, like, we should be able to say that, right? It was also a funny reminder, just saying, of a lot of people hang games like Indianapolis. Let me use that example, right? In Indianapolis, people said Caleb racked up a bunch of garbage time yardage. I heard somebody say on Twitter that there is no such thing as garbage time like 18 months ago. I'm talking a year and a half ago. And y'all, it has stuck with me because they're right. You know, if you're watching Scott as Bears, I'm talking about your random tweet at one point. Because, folks, we don't know what garbage time is until the game is pretty much well and truly over. Caleb Williams racks up some garbage time yardage after DeAndre Carter's quite solid return, and then the game ends up in the balance. So it's not garbage time when you grind your way back, right? And I always think that's an interesting conversation. But anyways, like you're saying, Joe, if Caleb had led them, I mean, I was hoping that Caleb would break the rookie touchdown record on that drive. That would have been so sick, right? We are in the stage. I'll just say it for everybody out there. I don't really care about draft position right now. Maybe somebody in the chat is going to tell me I'm supposed to, but I personally believe that the Bears gain a lot by Caleb winning any of these games, and they gain a lot by Matt Eberflus losing a lot of these games. So, you know, you kind of end up with a win-win. It's sort of like a win-win-lose because every loss is better draft position. Flus a little further out the door. Caleb Williams takes another loss on his record. Uh, but that's that, right? You bring the good with the bad. But it would have been sensational if Caleb brought him back. But it's okay. I really believe that they didn't, because we're talking about a rookie. We're not talking about a year 3 quarterback. And we're talking about a defense that is flatly not ready right now. Right? Like, so I said this on Twitter. I will talk this out, and then we'll go through some offensive tape. And if there's time left over before like 10:30, then maybe we'll go through a little bit of defense. But what's bugging me most about Eberflus, et cetera, is that this defense is built to work with dudes. And the moment that they lose their dudes, the defense falls apart from a schematic standpoint. Now, the lack of pass rush is exposing the linebackers. It's exposing the second corner. It's exposing the lack of it's exposing the lack of a second safety. But moreover, I mean, I think it's exposing that this defense does not work with paper mache. And you know what sucks? Most of this team is paper mache. Most of this team is paper mache, and their defense is really good. Ivan Pace, the linebacker out here on the field, is a UDFA. I mean, it's wild to me watching what other defensive teams are doing with less guys. Simple example, y'all, Jesse Minter and that Chargers defense, they may have gotten pieced up by the best offensive football, but they don't have many guys. They've got Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, and that's about where it ends in my own experience. Everything else is a defense that's just playing hard for Harbaugh and for Minter, and it's well coordinated. You look at the Cardinals, dude, Rozzy, they've got nobody. They have nobody. And Jonathan Gannon's got them playing some football because they're crazy. They do some sicko stuff, just like what we reviewed not too long ago, and it confuses the heck out of people. And it's awesome. And the Bears just don't really run a lot of that. Like, the Bears don't get a lot of gotcha. And when they do, they don't really take advantage of it. And sure, you could use more investment in the trenches. Definitely. Zach Pickens is looking like probably the worst pick of the right. Here's a quick fun question. Who's the worst draft pick? Zach Pickens? Velus Jones? Not trying to turn it into some massive hate parade, right? More just begging the question. We dogged on Velus for years. Zach Pickens can't get on the field at all, and when he is on the field, you wish he wasn't. So, Velus definitely cost more games, Noah. No doubt. Velus cost more games, but I guess you could argue at least he got on the field and gave himself the opportunity to cost people games. But hey, you tell me. That's Jimmy. That's kind of where I'm at personally. Like, Pickens is old school bad. Pickens is old school. You don't even play him, and when you do, you see why. Velus is that tantalizing talent that's just never gonna become something, right? Like, Velus is that the coach's fool's gold, you know, where it's like, instead of just a jag, you're like, no, this is gonna work. I'm telling you guys, this is gonna work. And he drops another punt. But anyways, at least overview wise, because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, okay? I think my least favorite part about talking you guys through the offense is feeling like I have to have an agenda, okay? I want to talk through the offense. Not everything Caleb does is great, right? But I kind of feel like I'm having to what's the word? Like, fend off Caleb people or hold back the Caleb tide as I do it. And honestly, tonight, not really into that, okay? I think Caleb has a great game overall. I think that he has a couple turnover-worthy plays. I think he has a couple of massive big-time throws. I think he's one of the only reasons that the Bears' offense was able to move the ball on a day where they really couldn't run it at all, unless Caleb managed to do it himself. So there's a ton of good. I really do think so, and especially once you get to that like mid-second quarter, second half area where Caleb tends to heat up. I think there's a lot of great. I also think there's a lot of mistakes. I mean, there are some ghastly-looking drops and more miscommunications. I think it's hilarious that just last week, here, let me just see if I can't fish it out. Yeah, wow. How did I find this? I'm honestly saying that. How did I find this? Right? Just last week, we saw Cole Kmet run a route right here, and Cole Kmet shanked it, cut it off because he felt a little bit of collision, and Caleb Williams throws the corner, right? This week, we get Keenan Allen, same situation, right? And Caleb Williams is going to throw the flat, and Keenan Allen is going to run the corner. I mean, you can't make up some of the... I highlighted the wrong guy. It's Keenan who runs this. Honestly, I get the 15 and the 13. So from frames like this, to me, that looks like a 13. Call me blind, but to me, that looks like a 13, and it gets me so often on this All-22 angle. Anyways, Keenan runs the same route. Caleb sees it and says, okay, literally the same thing we got last week, and Caleb flicks that ball out to literally where Kmet was, right? Do I need to pull this back up for you guys? Because it is the same throw. But instead of the ball being here, Caleb puts it right here. Exactly where Kmet would have wanted it. Keenan Allen, though, runs it to the corner. Because that's where Caleb put it last time. And now, once again, the Bears lose a play due to miscommunication. And this stuff happens every week. And it's week 12 now, for 11 games. I mean, it does get exhausting. From a film review perspective, it's pretty remarkable that these guys are still not on the same page. And I get it. Could be at least in part because Caleb is making this throw while DeAndre Swift is trying not to get detonated. So Caleb throws it with no leg whatsoever and just flicks the ball out there. Nice that he can throw it at all from bizarre platforms like this. I won't get tired of it. I know everybody else is because the Bears aren't winning games. And so there are some people that are kind of just grousey, right? But I love the fact that Caleb can throw these and think that they will be a net benefit for the Bears going forward, and love that it's out there. But it is wild just how much he and his receivers disagree on where the ball should be sometimes. And I get sick about it. Or I get sick of it. Chicago Fanatic mentions DJ Moore that gets solid separation. I mean, so first of all, it's funny, Chicago. Yes, but it kind of takes forever to do it. Like here, let me stop when Caleb throws the ball. We aren't separated yet, right? It's a red zone. You're going to catch a blitz. A lot of teams, especially teams like Brian Flores, feel very good about their coverage units when you're talking about defending only this much space, right? And so when you're only defending that, there are a lot of situations where you're going to catch a blitz and you're going to have to get rid of the ball pretty fast. Like, Caleb's already thrown it here. We're winding to throw it here. And yes, DJ has separated a little, but if we throw this ball, we've got 51 sitting right under it. So we're going to have to put some loft on it. And I'm by no means trying to tell you that, I don't know, it doesn't work one way or another, but that is exactly, I think you put it this, or Amphoris, I like the way you put that. This is exactly the kind of play that you look at and you say, okay, if we get that again, we can work DJ Moore, but I don't think you're expecting it, right? And also, Taco Man, I agree that next year you got to see more Rome. But Jibby, everybody else in the chat, I'm sure you guys are all going to agree that we need to see Rome also be a little more consistent. And I'm mostly actually not talking about drops. His hands have been great. We get a sicko play from him in the middle of this game, and it's awesome, and I can't wait to get to it. I haven't seen it again, right? Thank you so much, Ken P. I really appreciate you. But with Rome, right now we're getting a couple more of these, like, what's the word I'm looking for? We're seeing curls the wrong depth. We're seeing routes that look slightly wrong. We're seeing in like plays where Rome might be a little out of place. But boy, howdy, once these two get their connection working, I am very excited. Thank you so much, Ken P. I really do. I can't believe that. I really appreciate it. But so, anyways, brain farts, right? I mean, look, I say this with all of the kindness that I can. From a football perspective, Rome Odunze still sometimes looks like the guy who caught a pass and celebrated it with 2 feet out of bounds, right? Sometimes the awareness isn't there. But boy, Michael, to agree with you, there are a lot of players that are very aware and aren't physically talented. Rome is extremely physically talented. And I think you take the good with the bad because the bad does outweigh it. It's not Quentin Johnson, but Yeah, Alessandro, I think I can. But so, anyways, let's kick this thing off. First play of the game. I really love the look they get to here. It looks like it's a choiceette route for Colt Kmet to go with Keenan Allen clear, or what is this? Roma Dunze clearing space. So Roma Dunze is going to clear space, and then Colt Kmet's going to come off of this and choose which direction he wants to go. Colt Kmet makes a great choice, but I especially love the fact that normally they would split Colt Kmet out for plays like this. Instead, they do it on the line like a normal play, and I think it catches this Vikings defense off guard. It's a nice completion, and it's a play where Caleb takes a look to his left, sees that this defender is crowding it, comes back across the field to Kmet, and rips it quite quickly. There's a hitch in Caleb's game that I think he will take out eventually, so keep an eye on Caleb in this. Drops back, hits the back of his drop, hitch there, throws it. There's like a moment where he's processing that I think will eventually get ironed out. And I only point that out to say he's a rookie, and you can tell he's never processed against these kinds of defenses before. But there's a holding call. And Chicago mentions that this holding call is kind of BS. I don't know. He catches him, right? So for me, it's that arm right here, especially against a free run blitzer. If it was a bear, I would say the same thing. You can't grab like that against a guy who is otherwise unabated to the quarterback. The ref is not going to reward you for that. Does that make sense, Chicago? There's at least an element of like, does this reward poor play? And in this case, it does. It's a costly penalty for the Bears, but it would have been costly to let go. Every penalty you don't call is a swing the other way, right? Corny, I know, but true nevertheless. Look at these. So tackles can get away with it, Chicago, because they're massive. Darnell Wright gets away with it, to circle one name, right? Or he's right here. But running backs, you got to play cleaner because they're not going to give you any benefit of the doubt. And Khalid, yeah, this Flores defense is awesome. Look at these looks. Like, we've got 5 down on the line, and we've got a linebacker threatening. I love this defense. If the Bears hadn't already spoiled the milk with Matt Eberflus, I would be much more down for the Bears to consider hiring Brian Flores, but that's just kind of boring to me. I'm going to be honest, right? Where, at least to me, it's, hey, let's try out the same formula as this last generation, but this time it's with a cool coach. And it's same with the Vrabel thing, right? Where I'm like, I get it. I agree that these coaches are better, or at least they should be, than what Matt Eberflus is, and that the team would be different and more aggressive. But I want one of these sexy offensive coordinators if I get to choose. Ben Johnson's pretty much like 1-1 with Liam Cohen as sort of a, I'll get over it, fine. And Thomas Brown is putting himself into the equation. I just think that's a hell of a promotion, right? To go from offensive coordinator of the league's worst offense last year to exceptional development with Caleb to head man feels very fast. And hey, if it works, it works. Coaching hires, I got 111 people in here. I'm going to tell you this so that you hear it from me, okay? Adam Hogue, Adam Johns, Robert Schmitz, Greg Braggs, Nicholas Mariano, Lauren Cox. None of us know anything about these head coaches. We don't know anything. And the people that we're going to hear from, we don't know, and they don't know anything. These head coaches, all unproven, they are going to do interviews. And unfortunately, yeah, that's the best look at who these guys are, right? We aren't going to be there. And I say that purely because I want you to realize that anybody giving their opinion about a head coach is giving you an opinion. Tape, we can talk through tape. Tape, I can tell you I checked this with somebody. Tape, I can tell you NFL players generally do this. I can walk through something where there's history and there's my own knowledge, and we're reviewing what is effectively these players' resumes on the field, right? Thank you so much, Donald. I really appreciate it. But the coaching thing, we're all doing it off vibe. We're doing it off pressers. We're doing it off of unit performance. We're doing it off of what we've heard of their coaching style. We don't know anything. I'm a huge Brian Daboll fan. Brian Daboll in New York has been, I don't want to call it an abject disaster, but it's not been good. And no, it hasn't helped anything that he got a ton out of Daniel Jones, and then they signed him to a deal that just about sank that generation of the Giants. But at the same time, the reputation that comes out is that he's an MFer, that he's got a ton of other stuff going on. You get the idea, right? Razi, you mentioned, what do I think about Joe Brady? I've kind of always thought that Joe Brady has gotten a bunch of credit that he didn't deserve, but what he's doing in Buffalo right now is no doubt phenomenal. Like, I thought Joe Brady was the offensive coordinator that worked with Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase. Whoop-de-doo. I think that I could probably pick anybody, Chicago Fanatic, if I had you coordinate an offense for Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson, you think you could be productive in the passing game? Because I think you could, right? Like, I think you're going to be all right. Then he went to Carolina, and it was awful, and he got fired very quickly. But I don't want to be somebody who's, like, baked into my own priors. It's great that Joe Brady's been around the league for a hot while. Like, that's good, you know? Daniel, you mentioned, am I crazy for not caring much about scheme for my head coach? Seems like Flus is a solid defensive mind, but is a poor locker room staff manager. Get me one that knows how to get a good staff. So, Daniel, first of all, I think you're on the right track. I would tell you that Flus tells you about how the coach plays, or at least how the coach thinks. Let me use an example, okay? What do you see here from Brian Flores? Starview, what's up? Like, when you look at this kind of alignment, Daniel, what do you see? I'll tell you what I see. I see a coach that's willing to. I see a coach personally that is willing to get outside the box a little bit. Look at all this sim pressure. Yes, I agree with you, Taco, that it looks like it is a Tampa 2 alignment and that we've got a lot there. But also, we're threatening man. We are presenting options that we can beat you from, and we've left a bubble that we're not worried about you running into, because that's the side of the ball that your running back is on, and we think that we can close there if we need it. So we're taking advantage, right, of natural space that's offered to us while trying to force you into a mistake instead of letting the mistake come to us. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the gifts of the memberships. Those are really, really sweet. But so, anyways, I say this because within that, you get the impression Flores is, here, I'll write it. I get the impression Flores is creative. Flores is aggressive. And that Flores is modern. Plus, because I know the personnel on this team is not all that great, I know that he is a motivator. What does that say about his ability to construct an offensive staff? I don't know. What does that say about his culture? I don't know. Khalid, you mentioned but the Miami Dolphins situation. You mean the one where he got asked to tank and wouldn't do it because he refuses to lose and won too many games, so then they tanked their draft position? Oh, darn, right? And I hear you. I'm not trying to say it was a perfect situation. I'm saying it was wild the way that we blackballed Flores because he got too much out of a roster that his own GM did not think would win games. Oh, you mean that? So the Tua thing is always a little weird. If you're talking about like Flores not liking Tua Tagovailoa, them's the breaks with a DHC. Do you know why I don't want a DHC? Because of that, right? The defensive head coach is generally going to be okay, so in my opinion, the defensive head coach is just not going to focus on gassing up quarterbacks the way that you see other guys do it, right? Like David, you mentioned he belittled Tua every day. Y'all, defensive coaches belittle everyone every day, right? Thank you so much, truly. But so, love it, Donald. I say this because like defensive head coaches are not known for being, let's call it, nice dudes, right? Like they are going to get after you. The hits thing is lived out through picking at people. And I say that because, and you're right, Noah, like he got criticized by Nick Saban. You get it. Again, I'm really not trying to defend Flores more. I'm really not trying to make the case for Flores. I'm trying to give you the idea, Daniel, who asked the question, that I actually think that the coach's scheme tells you a lot about who the coach is, right? It can't tell you everything because you don't know. But I personally see that, or I personally see a lot of these schemes carry forward in how the coach coaches. For instance, say what you will, Matt Nagy's scheme told us that he was a good learner and a good play designer, and it told us that he could get guys to play hard. What it didn't tell us, because Andy Reid was on the same side of the ball as him, was whether or not he could get guys to be detailed of his own accord. And also, there are enough Chiefs goofs that happened throughout the course of a season that we just attributed all those to Reid. But you ended up getting a good look at who Matt Nagy was, right? Side note, does anybody remember the result that Matt Eberflus was? Okay, this is a real callback. Trivia time. What happened in Matt Eberflus's last game? Colts against Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Before he got hired to be the head coach. I'll give you a hint. The playoffs were on the line and something happened, right? Because it's funny. We talk about scheme all we want to, but on the last play, or on the last game of the season, the Colts had a lead and they blew it in the last game as Jacksonville walked up and down the field in the late hours of the game, made the playoffs, went on to win that crazy comeback game, right? So what did the Bears get? That guy, to be honest. That's who it is. And I'm not trying to tell you that everything is 1-to-1. There was a point where we were discussing Byron Leftwich as a head coaching option, and that goes back to me trying to tell you we don't know at the end of the day. We don't know who these people are. We have no idea. We see what they present to the media, and we see what their units put on tape, but we don't know them, right? But within that, it is remarkable how often Jonathan Gannon's defense is held together by hope, motivation, and grit. And then you go to Arizona, it's awesome. Like, they are held together still to that day by hope, motivation, and grit. And the team is playing great ball. I mean, yeah, sure, they lost a nasty game just last week, but it's fun watching these Arizona Cardinals, and it's hard not to like Jonathan Gannon. You look at Mike McDaniel, right? What'd you get in San Fran? A phenomenal run game. What'd you get in Jeremy K says, if you could have any coach for the Bears next year, who are you choosing? Don't say Ben Johnson. If you put me on the spot like that, I shrug my shoulders and I say, what is going to happen around the league, right? Like, if the 49ers season goes in the tank, does something happen to Kyle Shanahan? Duh, I'm going to pick Kyle Shanahan. Jeremy, I'm going to be blunt with you. I'm going to try to cheat, right? Because I don't want to tell you Liam Cohen. I don't think Liam Cohen's good enough, right? Not because I hate Liam Cohen, but because I'm a Bears fan that's really mad at this organization. That didn't go away. I'm excited about Caleb Williams. I like a lot of the players on the team. That stuff didn't change. But I am frustrated at this organization making me feel like they nickel and dime on coaches left, right, and center, which is why I look at Ben Johnson and I say, just pick him. Like, just pick the gimme. Right? If the gimme doesn't work, the gimme doesn't work. But pick the gimme. Just give me something easy. Dead Awake mentions, what if Ben Johnson isn't a good leader? What if he isn't? What if Mike Vrabel is out of touch? What if Kyle Shanahan isn't motivated anymore? What if Liam Cohen doesn't know a decent defensive coordinator? All of these guys have a red flag. Everybody talks to me about what if Ben Johnson isn't a good leader. The offensive line is responding to him. Jared Goff has responded to him. David Montgomery has responded to him. I mean, it's all over the place. Like, if you ask me, Ben Johnson's leadership is pretty plain. Penei Sewell looks amazing. How much of that do you think is Dan Campbell? Probably some, but not all. And I mean, to use another example, like Bill Belichick does not seem to like Caleb Williams. Maybe it's a front. Maybe he'd come around to it. But it is hard to not listen to Bill Belichick talk and hear the same conservative mindset that ruled in 2005, it's not 2005 anymore. And Bill's old enough that it's hard for me to envision him coming to Chicago for a long time. I get the appeal, but I think his day is done, and that's okay. So then most people gravitate to Vrabel, right? But I think you got, at least to me, you got to remember Vrabel's already been fired. And I can't help but look and say, there are things that got Vrabel fired the first time. Why wouldn't they get him fired the second time? And we don't know that that's how it would work out. I'm more trying to tell you that right now, week 12, okay? Week 12, we are at the stage where everybody wants to be the cool contrarian. This is, Caleb wasn't that great. This is, I don't know about Ben Johnson. Lest we forget, this time last year, everybody was like, kind of think I'm a Drake May guy, right? Everybody kind of gets this way. I've seen it too many times, right? Where whatever is the accepted take, this is about when people just get bored with it and they start arguing with it and you hear the other side of the coin, right? And I can't help but look at this and say, just take the gimme. Like, you got Ben Johnson that is probably going to be out there on the coaching market. And I'm going to be honest, normally I'm a pretty flexible person in terms of how I evaluate this team. I don't really want to be flexible with this. Like, you didn't want to interview Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh looks awesome in a Chargers, as a Chargers coach. Is that team perfect? No, they aren't. But he looks great. And he's motivating that team the right way. And it's fun. It's fun team to watch. I would like that. I want the gimme. It doesn't have to be amazing. It just has to pass the bar. The Bears right now have a coach that I swear, I am an unbiased person. I really try to be. Matt Eberflus is contributing more to losses than I think any other facet of this team. And there are a lot of bad facets of the team. But Matt Eberflus is managing to contribute a ton with a team that is undisciplined and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Tumultuous, only so much, right? But because of that, I kind of just want a Bears coach that's going to hold water, bring something to the table. Sure, you're not going to get everything right, you know? But do what you can. Hire somebody that's going to do what they can and just be like a relatively disciplined team. Taco, you mentioned, are we tanking? Well, they're not trying to, right? ZTF, you mentioned, or how about Josh McCown? I don't know. Y'all, another big problem that I've seen with a lot of these hires, and this is the big Thomas Brown problem, right? So Thomas Brown and Josh McCown. Biggest problem is lack of connections. Why do I like the Ben Johnson idea? Twofold, okay? I'm going to be real. Not only do you have a guy that has been doing it a while, which is great, but also you get to take the offensive coordinator off of your rival, and then he's probably going to do the Mike Kafka thing, right? Do we all remember this? Okay, quiz time. What did Brian Daboll do that helped the Giants? Didn't work forever. I get it. But what did it do? I assume you've got your answers in by now. I will speak while the stream delay comes in. You are now allowed, so you can take any head coach you want. So that means offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators, generally. You cannot block them being interviewed, right? When you promote them to head coach. They're used to all exist under a term called assistant head coach. I think it might have actually just been assistant coach, right? And it used to be that these two didn't exist. But then the NFL started to recognize them. So now you can't block interviews from assistant coach to offensive or defensive coordinator. Meaning that realistically, if you hire Ben Johnson, wouldn't it stand to reason that he's probably going to take another core member of the Lions staff away from them. Maybe I'm just spiteful, but if you can deal a blow to your rival while also getting better yourself, why wouldn't you? And what's the price on that? What is it really? Right? Creating instability in my opponent while also gaining stability on my own. Great stuff. Great. And he's been around the league for just long enough that I tend to think that Ben knows when I say staff, for instance, Daniel, you mentioned, did Eberflus have connections? I don't know. You tell me. He hired Luke Getsy, right? And not only that, but does he really know Luke Getsy, or did his agent tree just know him? Did he just ask his guy? I think his guy was Trace Armstrong, right? Did he just ask Trace, like, who's a decent offensive coordinator? And the guy connected the two. You tell me. But I think that there's a balance of both. Like, I only think I agree with you, Ben. I think he only had defensive connections. And so while I'm not going to try to pretend to you that Ben Johnson is the most, like, he's just knows all the defensive guys. I will tell you this. First of all, I do think he and Robert Saleh have crossed paths before, if that means anything to you. But second of all, Ben has probably been trying to build a staff while he gets ready to go be a head coach. So that's no given. But if he's got head coaching on the mind, he's probably at least had a couple of these conversations, as opposed to somebody like probably Joe Brady, but certainly Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown's going to be a great example. If Caleb Williams, okay, so one other stat thing. This is fun, right? Would you believe it that if Caleb Williams throws for an average, right? An average of 243 passing yards per game, he will break the Bears' single season record. He needs roughly 275 per game if he wants to throw for 4K. So that's probably not happening, but 243 per game as an average breaks Eric Kramer's single season record. 17 games, billion attempts, you get it, whatever. But if you do that, I would be surprised if Thomas Brown isn't going to get head coaching interviews. Probably one from the Bears, but probably one around. Like, probably one around the league too. And Thomas Brown has not prepared for this. Like, I'm not trying to hate on Thomas. I'm more saying Thomas Brown will go from interviewing to be a passing game coordinator after offensive coordinating one of the worst leagues in football, worst offenses in football, to suddenly getting yanked up and having an opportunity to try to build an entire staff within his own image. I'm not trying to tell you that it's a given. I'm trying to tell you that, to me, this is the definition of a year too early. Has he seriously had head coaching interviews before? Man, good job, guys. First of all, way to know that. Second of all, hot dang. But so, anyways, yeah, right, Demo? I say all of this because at the end of the day, when it comes to coaches, I don't think Matt Eberflus is pulling his weight. Okay? I'm not trying to be one of those emotional guys, right? That just bangs the table. I'm not trying to. I know sometimes I get there anyways. When I watch the tape, which we're probably not going to get to, I don't think it's good enough. I think that the defense looks like a mess. I think they take penalties at the wrong times across the board. There's too many reports of guys that are lackadaisical in practice. The boys don't look focused. DJ Moore, just to call one guy out, DJ Moore gets away with whatever he wants to do every fifth play. Every fifth play. That's like 20% of plays. And it's most run blocks. Whereas he used to care. Catch you later, Donald. I don't think this is good enough for a coach whose whole thing is supposed to be hustle, intensity, takeaways, and smarts. It's not good enough, right? But I also look at this and I say to myself, I don't know enough about the other coaches. It's not my choice, right? And so within that, at the very least, I can't tell you what I know I want. I can tell you what I will and won't complain about if you follow. Like, 100% or star view. Like, and I'll be honest, the whole reason that I sit here and complain about potentially not hiring Ben Johnson is just because this franchise, if you guys don't feel like it's testing your patience, I don't believe you. Or maybe you just have infinite patience. Could be. This franchise it's not hard to cheer for. I actually think it's really easy to cheer for. And if you guys know what I'm talking about, then you get it, right? But this franchise, while being really easy for me to cheer for, I mean, all they have to do is anything. And I'm just like up out of my seat. It's a weird franchise and weird things happen to it. But like that, of course, the Chicago Bears are the only ones to recover an onside kick this year. Of course. Why would it be anybody else, right? Why would it be anybody else? It's never anybody else. It's the Bears. The Bears are the ones that allowed a Hail Mary, but also pick sixth in a comeback win, and also had a punt go off a guy's leg, and also had a onside kick go their way right after a missed field goal ended last week's game, and the first field goal attempt of this game, not missed, a blocked field goal, and then the next field goal attempt also blocked. Such a weird game. Like, it's such a weird org, to be honest with you. I would tell you, yeah, unlikely is a funny way to put it, John, where it's like, the Bears it's a weird team. It's just a weird football team, and it always has been. It's the only team that I have seen have a coach's challenge turn a potential touchdown into a turnover, but it did. It's the only team that I see consistently these days burn its challenge flags on total losses. It is wild watching the way this team is operated over the last couple years, where you get, I don't know, I'm sure something comes to mind for you, but if you're not a little tired of it and don't kind of just want the Bears to prove that you're cheering for something worthwhile, I don't think you got a beating heart. Or maybe you just don't put in the time that I do, which completely understandable. It's an unhealthy amount of time. Anyways, I say all of this because when it comes to the coaches, I want to just hit a fastball. And you know what? If Ben Johnson can't lead, I will deal with it. Can I be so honest? I kind of want the Bears to spend a lot of money on their head coach. I want to hear that it's like a record-setting contract. I want the McCaskies to show me that they give a damn, right? Like, to me, the Matt Eberflus hire said, I want what feels good and works for my wallet. I want the McCaskies to show me that they give a damn, right? And to me, they do that not by hiring Liam Cohen a year early. To me, they do that hiring somebody, I mean, I honestly, expensive, right? And I agree with you, Numbaz, that it's like spend on the offensive line. Like, I agree. And I'm not trying to tell anybody that I definitely think it's going to happen. I'm telling you that I'm rolling my eyes in general, waiting for the McCaskies to show me a different face, right? But we'll see. Isaiah mentions, do I think keeping Eberflus was purely a Poles decision, or was it Eberflus not wanting to pay two guys? I will tell you, numbers. Thank you. I like it. But so I would tell you that I think that chances are George McCaskey was kind of like, do we really have to fire him? And Ryan Poles was like, he's my guy. It can be both. Right. I think there are a lot of people that want to absolve Poles for keeping Matt Eberflus, and they want to say, well, I like Poles, and I can't really explain the Eberflus thing, so I'm just not going to. I'm going to say it's a George McCaskey thing. That would fit the McCaskies, and you're right, it would. But there's too many reports that say that this was Eberflus's, or that Eberflus was Poles' guy. I don't know why we wouldn't believe it. Right. At the same time, I bet George McCaskey was pretty excited about that decision. And he was like, hell yeah. That's what I like to hear. And so I doubt he got much resistance at that point. But at least, so then somebody asked me, is Poles in the hot seat? Here's the problem, okay? Because I've thought about this. Bears fans, I don't like being here. Okay? But here we are. if the owner was any better at hiring people, I would tell you, yeah, Poles probably ought to be on the hot seat. I don't know why you wouldn't be. Record's been bad. Everything you've done well is predominantly luck based, right? But the owner is so bad at making hires that, well, I guess we need the GM to do it then. I almost feel like you have to keep Poles, and with him, hopefully Kevin Warren's got his head on straight, just to be sure that the Bears, or just to be sure that the Bears don't hire Bill Belichick. And somebody out there would get really excited about the Bill Belichick hire. So I'm not hating if that was the direction that they'd go. But I can already see it, can't you? Where the Bears woo Jim Fisher out of retirement, or Jeff Fisher, or something like that. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I really don't know. Somebody asked earlier, let me see, Alex Searing and Ben are going back and forth about whether the Bears or the Bengals are the most talented. You're looking at a Bengals hater, Alex, but it's not like I care. It's, to me, being the most, or the best fourth, or to me being the best 4-7 team doesn't really mean anything. The goal is to be better than that, right? Especially because Caleb and Rome should get quite a bit better. I agree with Alex that I think that the defense was always kind of overperforming. Yeah, Alex, you mentioned overrated. I think they were just overperforming, right? I think they were consistently spicy. The biggest problem, at least that I see, is that Tyreek Stevenson is playing like he doesn't like himself, and then Terrell Smith has limitations. So the CB2 on this team is getting toasted. Kyler Gordon, love him, cannot cover. Like Kyler Gordon in zone, we can work with it. Kyler Gordon in man, don't love it almost ever, right? But Kyler Gordon at the line of scrimmage, really fun. Like Kyler Gordon, the run fitter, Kyler Gordon, the blitzer, Kyler Gordon, the fall off zone defender. There's a lot to like. I'm not trying to take anything away from Kyler. I'm trying to say I think he's a little more gimmicky than some people realize. I also think that Andrew Billings is consistently underrated. And I'm by no means trying to take anything, or I'm not trying to make him more than he is. I'm trying to say that I think he's one of the most important nose tackles, at least in ball, according to the way that this defense has just fallen off without him. I think they're related. I think Javon Dexter has been a lot better than some people realize, while simultaneously being not as good as some people tell themselves that he is. Like, I think Dexter is probably your third best lineman on a good defensive line and your fourth best on a great defensive line. But that doesn't mean he's bad. That means he's good. You just need a lot more guys. Let's see. I agree with you, Spectre, that I think a lot of coaches do a lot more with a lot less. I also think that Kevin Byard was a solid signing and a pretty good signing, and that Brisker took a step forward. I personally, if you've seen me on social media, I mentioned this. I think Brisker is testing the limits of what the Bears org is going to be cool with. Like, Brisker at a couple points was openly criticizing different play calls and different coaches stuff. And it's like, I understand that if you're hardcore pro Bears, maybe it didn't look like that to you. It looked like that to me. Maybe I'm making something out of nothing, but it looked like that to me. So that was strange. That was pretty strange to see. And I hope he's all right. I don't want to see the Bears cut him, because they have to, and he goes somewhere else and continues to play the level of ball that he's been playing at, because that would just be, I think, a loss for everyone involved, because if they cut him, he's not going to get paid at all. Alex, it was not season ending. Technically, they can bring him back after, I think, 2 more weeks, but the fact that he didn't get over it for 5 weeks and now has another week or another month on the pine has most people thinking that if it's that long term, it may just stay long term. But let me see who on the Bears is getting extension this offseason. I honest to God don't know, Noah. I really have no idea. But so, oh Lord, Haplo, Doug Peterson would be such a Haplo, honest to goodness, you named George's choice. I'm serious. Like, to me, Doug Peterson is the George choice. Like, if you leave this to George McCaskey's own devices, Doug Peterson is a Super Bowl pedigree. He has worked with young quarterbacks just recently. Like, that's the guy that you look at. He's offensive minded, but he's also got tenure. And if you want to keep polls, I honest to goodness think it's so that you don't end up with a Doug Peterson head coaching like decision, because that's exactly the kind of choice that I would think. Uh, Alessandro, you mentioned like Ron Rivera. I don't think so, just because I do think they're going to pivot back to offense. I will be blown away if they don't pivot back to offense. I don't make bets often. I think that they are going to pivot back to offense, and it's a matter of whether it's Cliff Kingsbury, Doug Peterson, or somebody more interesting, right? But that's what you're looking at this point. I think it helps you if you don't like Cliff Kingsbury. It helps that they're falling off a cliff right now. Jibby, are you still in here? Because I will say it has been funny watching Caleb get better as Jaden Daniels and the Kingsbury offense kind of falls off, right? And I'm not hating. I think Jaden Daniels has been objectively very, very, very good. Thank you so much, Fuzz. We are going to get back to it, I promise. But so I like Jaden Daniels has been the best version of himself out of college. And I don't see any reason for us Bears fans to say otherwise. I mean, I get that there's like always a rivalry, et cetera, but it's like Jaden's been great. I also think that he is showing that he's a rookie and that we're seeing it now, because as defenses are adjusting to what Jaden has done, he's having trouble adjusting back, right? Like everything in the NFL is always a counter. It's one person pushes, then the defense pulls, and then when they pull, the offense has to find a new way to win. And this was always the question mark with Jaden Daniels, is can he win outside of his box? And at least so far over the last couple weeks, we'll see. And like you're saying, Alex, it's also a Cliff problem, because Cliff doesn't seem like he's got any grand ideas. Like Cliff doesn't iterate well, right, Alex? Cliff comes into the season generally with a pretty good plan, but how he's going to iterate off of what defenses do to change, those ideas don't tend to work well. And they haven't. I mean, go back to Texas Tech, go back to Arizona. Everybody talks about the Cliff, right? But I honestly think it's just a failure to iterate. Whereas y'all, I think we're seeing it. I do. Let's go. And we're going to go through the tape here soon, but Ben hasn't said get to the tape. So obviously I haven't gotten boring yet, right? That with Caleb, we are seeing that he, who we knew was a little rawer than some of these other quarterbacks, didn't have quite the polish that the rest of them did, purely because his game was so broad, right? Caleb's game had so much pocket movement and play from the pocket, but also play outside the pocket and running the ball and moving to his left and throwing, moving to his right and throwing, layered concepts, throws outside the numbers. Caleb did so much that we knew his translation was going to be harder than some of these other guys who boiled their game down to one thing and killed with it, right? Like, for instance, Drake May, he ran Mac Brown's offense as well as you could, basically. Then Jaden Daniels, he ran a bunch of RPOs, go balls down the sidelines, and the occasional dig over the middle. There's nothing wrong with it, right? Very polished game within that framework. Bo Nix, get the ball out quickly. Probably a little too much happy feet, but enough arm to make it work. Honest to goodness, I see a lot of people keep talking about Breeze and Rodgers. I have always thought Nix reminds me of Tony Romo, right? Limitations and all. Like, honest to goodness, when I look at Nix, I always thought, like, best case scenario, it's the same eye, I guess, that looked at Mac Jones and was like, that guy can get through, that guy can get through reads. He plays with anticipation. That could be a solid pro. And I think he would have been if Jacksonville didn't ruin it, or not Jacksonville, the Patriots didn't like ruin him, and he's got no confidence now. Doesn't matter, whatever. But I look at Nix and I see somebody who's more athletic than he should be, has more pop in his arm than you're going to give him credit for, and he doesn't always see the field perfectly, but he can get the ball out when he needs to. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Like, it's always stuck with me where I was like, hey, that works. Anyways, so with Caleb, we're seeing the benefit of experience. I think we're starting to see that he is understanding game prep, and we will go through the film to talk about that. Oh, Jordan, it's awesome. Like what is it? Like So, Ben, in my opinion, we're starting to see the uh, what I think has been fun. Okay, we're gonna get to film, I promise. But what I think has been the most fun about watching Caleb Williams is that where most quarterbacks that I have seen in a position like this have broken under the strain of, honest to goodness, like let's just call it being a Bears quarterback, right? Consistent offensive failure, really poor offensive line play, receivers that not only don't bring it, and or not only don't bring it, but when they do, they get strapped anyways, right? Being a Bears quarterback for years has been pretty hard, right? But within this, like our future coaches, sure, we will later. MJ, I like the idea. But so most of these quarterbacks that I've watched, I saw it with Trubisky, I saw it with or with Fields, certainly, was and frankly, even week 4 saw it with Bajan. Like his 4th game, that's what I thought. Uh Normally they crumble. And Caleb did, right? He had his rock bottom moment, I think, against the Patriots. It was bad. Let's say it, okay? Against the Patriots, I don't think I don't know if he wasn't there, but whatever happened, right? Whether it was a game plan with Waldron, whether it was a couple bad meetings, whether it was players boiling with frustration about the offensive coordinator situation, I don't know. I have no idea, right? But I can tell you that that Patriots game and the Arizona game too, but the Patriots game especially, that was really terrible. Like bad game. Offense was not playmaking, neither was Caleb. And the 9 sacks speak for themselves. We get to the Green Bay game, and his natural competitiveness popped like back the other way, in my opinion. Um, it was awesome. Like it's been fun to see him hit the bottom and surge back. Caleb almost seemed like, not to make this into an anime, right? But it seemed as if Caleb almost was enveloped by the darkness and then popped out, like it did the whole like, no, I won't do it thing, and bang. Yeah, exactly, Ben. The training arc, right? Where it's like you hit the part where the protagonist almost loses and then roared back. And I know that's not analysis. It barely is. But I honestly think that it's been really fun watching him grow and rally. And I don't know how long this will go. Like Star Review, you mentioned the pressure got to him. 100%. Like, let's be so honest to God real, right? Caleb, I think one of the most interesting things that I did not see coming in this, like I just Star Review, I didn't think it was on his tape, which comes from the fact that I watched him as a sophomore and a junior, right? Is I didn't see Caleb Williams being a guy who needed to fail in almost every situation first before he would chill out and succeed, right? First overtime, big mistake. First couple NFL games, big mistakes. But now, like after quite a bit of failure, been there, done that. Starting to see the talent shine. Starting to see him take a breath. Starting to see him take the NFL game, marry it with his own game, and find a middle ground. And it's been nice. I mean, you're probably only going to be a rookie once. So, well, you will. And there's only so many firsts that you can deal with. Unfortunately, Bears fans, this means that in all likelihood, unless Caleb is just like locked in and nails, right? If that's the case, then chances are Caleb will probably lose his first playoff appearance. If Caleb ever makes it to a Super Bowl, expect a bad half. Like, I'm kind of serious. Clearly, Caleb lives in the moment. That's good. I think it's good. I think it's, him being a person. It does seem, at least so far as a rookie, like sometimes the moments are a little too big for him. But I don't mean that in a hateful way. Because I've then seen him take on the next moment and eat it. And so that's good. Like, right? And like you're saying, Jordan, I mean, I know it's not the final play of the game. So there are going to be some people that just don't care, right? But like this throw, is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. I watched Caleb Williams or not Caleb Williams. I watched Justin Fields need 3 individual downs to make a throw easier than this. Like, here's the part that I want to focus on. Caleb Williams goes 1 to 2 to 3 on a layered ball. He gets pretty much 1 chance to make this play. Kudos to the line, by the way. Like, you want to talk about a clutch opportunity to flash in pass pro. Is that Schmitz? Look at Schmitz going 1-on-1, baby. No, he goes 2-on-1. Roshan Johnson gets over and helps make the play. But I don't think Keenan clears enough space. 7's not supposed to be there, right? Like, the 7, in my opinion, shouldn't be here. But he looks back and he gets layered. Both of them do. Woo! Woo! It's hard not to get excited. It really isn't. It really is, because that's exactly what you should do. And like Ben's saying, Caleb just about blows a hole through DJ Moore. Holy smokes! All right, I'm gonna go frame by frame because I think this is rad. Like, you can barely see the football. The camera is having a legitimately hard time picking that football up. Whether you think that's cool or not, you tell me. Like, it is wild seeing. Look at that. I think that's wild. I haven't seen it all that often. You want to talk about gunning it, like invisible ball. Rips it so hard. I've really, like, it's the shutter speed, it's frames per second. I get that, but it is hilarious seeing that. And Chris, I can't tell whether you're trolling or not, but I don't think that's open. Harrison Smith can drive on that one. 44 is specifically hunting on this ball, and if you throw either of those, the guy either A, gets blown up, which is not good, and easily could get you just about or it easily could put you in a bad spot, but B, if you see the safety hunting it, there's only 2 of them. Progress. So now we've got safety, zone, open guy. That's sick, if you ask me. I do think, for what it's worth, that you could attempt to layer a throw over this linebacker, and Keenan might just have to eat a hospital ball, or roam. You could attempt to force it into this window, and Keenan's going to have to eat a hospital ball. And you know what? Sometimes you got to do that. But as soon as Caleb sees this guy trigger down, push. No problem with it. Ben, to be clear, I prefer the play he made. Like, I like that. I don't think those guys are open. I'm more pointing out that I guess you could stuff it. And I think Caleb makes the better play. So somebody asked, what coverage are the Vikings running? It looks like a version of 3 deep. Like, these coverages are always very tailored, right? They don't have a name. It looks like it is man down the field with 2 guys playing half field and another guy playing full zone up on the top. So very particular coverage to these kinds of situations. Hot dog. And then you look at it behind. Exactly, Jordan. I mean, I see 3 deep, but with a little bit of adjustment. And I mean, I don't get tired of these, right? Layered balls. Begged for it with Trubisky. Never got it with Fields. Stopped asking. I don't get tired of watching the ball just crest somebody's hand and hit the receiver in a spot where, honestly, DJ doesn't even need to jump for it. Like, there is a theoretical world. I am not complaining, okay? Any receiver would do what DJ did. In theory, you could catch this and run with it, and 44 is never going to catch you. Like, in theory, if you manage to catch this ball without leaving without leaving the ground, you might be able to beat 24. But I'm not, again, less whine, more like, John, you mentioned he has to go down unless he scores. But he's got to go down. Like I said, any receiver would do it. Or like any receiver would do it. But so, yeah, but John, wouldn't it have been so sick if he Tebow'd? Like, you get that right there. Tebow down the Demaryius Thomas, may he rest in peace. down the field. That was so sick. Yo, I still go back and watch that game. Am I allowed to say? I think so. That's probably still aside, not even aside from the Bears. I think that's my favorite football game ever. Like the Tebow game against or the Tebow game against the Steelers in the playoffs was just what I go back and watch that one. Like that game was truly you had to be there. Like that game was you're not going to get it until you've seen it. And if you're young enough to where you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go find out. But you're still not going to get it cuz you might not remember the sensation that Tebow was. I mean, he was one of the most. You think Justin Fields was popular? Tim Tebow was probably one of the most popular people on the planet at that time. And I mean, it's so funny because you go back and it's like, oh, wow, he really couldn't play. Like, not really. But yeah, so did I, New Poster. I think like people mocking the Tebow celebration was so fun. I mean, the whole thing, like, it was just a great time in the league. And tumultuous, I hear you. Like the Cardinals 06 game is awesome. There's a bunch of awesome football games out there, but Khalid, I thought it was a little bizarre that people then started to compare it because like there are too many throws, at least in my opinion, that I look at that Caleb made, and I'm sitting here like, this is find me. Let's see. I have to track them all down. I still can't believe they ran that. A throw to end the game? Yeah, Fields made one. It took him 3 tries to see it, but I never really saw Fields make that. Not into his own window. And then, like, we're just quickly scanning through it because, honestly, I feel like I have a point to make, and I'm hoping that I can just see them. Balls like this. I mean, in my opinion, to beat a Brian Flores defense, you have to be able to beat cover 6. Like, this is cover 6. So you've got C4 right here. You've got C2 right here. What are they doing up front? I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's cover 6. You're going to have to beat that, or you're going to have to get that ball in that window. And he does. Like, he did this what felt like all game. And especially when the Bears started to move the ball on offense, it's because you just ripped it. And I mean, Alex, the worst part is you mentioned over the last 6 years, a Bears quarterback throwing that was an interception. Worst part, it was usually a lollipop. Like, usually 24 not only picks it off, but dude, if you can't get that ball there, like if you don't have the gas to get that there is nobody home. Like, this is what it's built for, dude. Like, I mean, just to use the example, because Alex, I think you bring up a great point. This ball is built for this. 24 is hunting it. 24 wants that throw. But rip. If you can fit it in, you can fit it in. What does he do in the pocket? Starview, I would even go so far. You mentioned Tebow won the national title. Tebow was just one of the easiest, I think, people to cheer for in terms of his energy, natural leadership. If you vibed with his beliefs, I do, even more so. But Tebow, I think, was just an easy player to think was just awesome. And he did it with his legs. He did it with his arm. Chris, he beats him outright. So that's good. Ball at Keenan Allen, beats the arm. Like that, Jonathan Bullard? Because I can't remember. Here, I'm quickly going to scan through. Then we'll try to pop through a couple of these. Or like, We'll try to pop through a couple of these really good play. I want to talk through as much of the game as I possibly can, but there are a couple of these missiles that I just thought were really outstanding. And I mean, you get little things like the Vikings drop into quarters here out of what definitely to me does not look like a quarters look. And it might not, I don't think it's quite quarters. I think it's more quarter half again. And I'm not 100% sure what this corner is doing. But I love this look because there's all kinds of, all kinds of like things the Vikings can do out of this. And I love, truly, I love the way Flores calls these cover zero blitzes. And at the end of the day, it does look like they're just playing cover zero, but they've got 43 falling off at this point. And you mentioned, for instance, Ben, I wish he'd have pumped and hit Rome. I don't. That's a great way to get sacked. Truly, like, yes, Rome is wide open, and Rome would have been wide open, but especially as a rookie, dude, don't get sacked. Like, on a play like this, don't get sacked. It's 3rd and 7. Throw it to Rome. First down. That's all. That's the job. Don't get sacked. Get the ball out. Give you guys a chance. Maybe later down the road, we can try to take that shot. But 3rd down, you got to throw the ball. You got to take that, or you got to get sacked. Or you can't get sacked. You have to assume your guys won't block because they haven't yet. Right, new poster. And I think he would have been open. Like, Khalid, you mentioned, I don't think he would have been. No, I don't know about that, guys. Like, for instance, just in my own experience, there is no corner in the league that's going to keep up with Roma Dunze from relatively flat feet playing straight up the sideline. Rome's going to get at least a step. It won't be like, oh my word, open, like what you get here, but you will not just explode down the field and keep up with the guy. At least I don't think so. The main thing that I see is, honestly, everybody blocks really well. I'll tell you what, 2 guys to watch. Actually, 1 guy to watch. I have no idea what his PFF grade is, and to be honest with you, I don't totally care. I think Darnell Wright, maybe you saw me get into it on Twitter. There are a lot of people that keep trying to make something like out of Jalen Carter versus Darnell Wright. I don't think you guys understand how hard it is to get a tackle that's playing as well as Wright is, and I don't think he's even at his peak. Like, I think that Darnell Wright can get quite a bit better from where he is now, but the physical talent that we're seeing from Darnell Wright is enough to certainly get me excited. Certainly. Especially because all of the other RT options have been just so bad. Man. One of these days, the Bears and their receivers will get on the same page scramble drill wise. Like, Rome, just stay still. Like, look at this. I'm not trying to hate on the guy by any stretch of the imagination. Rome, come out of the ball. Stay on the sidelines. I have seen this so often. Like, Caleb right now is looking at DJ. Then Caleb progresses to Rome. And Rome's turned around to go block, which, sure. But, like, just go stand on the sidelines. Right there. You stand right here. We throw it. It's a 50-50 ball that you might get it picked off, especially if you miss your spot. And there's a ton of space right here. But once you flatten out, just come back. No. One of these days we'll get a nice scramble drill. Oh man, look at the tight ends. Look at these 2. This is fun. You get the linebacker going around the outside edge, and Mercedes Lewis gives him a little bit of the business. Good job by Swift, too. Second and 8. What is this? They go, looks like zone read duo. Swift is so funny. Like, truly. I think watching Swift and covering Swift is just so goofy. Everybody hates him. Like, just off of vibes, everybody hates DeAndre Swift. And then he's just fast enough to squeeze out good runs anyways. Like, totally serious. Where it's like, I'm not trying to tell you that I think DeAndre Swift is some amazing player, but I do think he gets underrated because people hate him. Like, uh, he is the Moneyball Under Armour, right? Where it's like he runs weird. He does not like being between the tackles, but he's so good in space and a better blocker than a lot of guys that are good in space. Not good, but better than a lot of them, where it is funny to me. Like I agree, Jordan. Everybody hates his vision. No, or like Numbers. Everybody hates his vision. That's why people hate him. I'm completely serious. But and like you're saying, Alex, he is really tough to watch if you like a running back that just takes what he gets. But boy, howdy, you kick the ball out to Swift on the outside edge, he might break 3 tackles en route to the in the end or like en route to the end zone. And fam, sometimes that's all that matters. Like it's it's not that I'm trying to tell you that Swift is worth his contract. I think you know where I stand on that. But as a weapon to have, you can do a lot worse. Also, I love this ball. Ah! Uh, it did not get caught because Keenan just barely didn't finish it. But wow. So again, we used to airmail all our deep balls, right? Like Caleb used to put way too much air or way too little air on all of his deep balls. So is this a little too far out to the sidelines? I don't know. You tell me. I think it's pretty perfect back shoulder ball. And almost a super sick catch by Keenan Allen while he's at it. But it is great seeing Caleb's deep ball come a little more online. I also will tell you, I love Caleb's penchant for the back shoulder because I personally believe that the back shoulder ball is always the better choice. Almost never. Like, okay, so are there going to be situations where the wide receiver can take it down the sidelines and get over the top? Yes, but a well put back shoulder ball, Travis, how you doing, is just really hard to defend. Even with a receiver or with a defender all over it, you can never tell where that ball is going to come in. And so, in my opinion, if you can take the back shoulder ball, do it. That's nice. That's a full stretch catch too. Whew, tough to get down. We could probably, if we're gonna pick nits, we could probably put the ball like so. I'm having trouble drawing this. Like if it's like back like this, and the ball is here, we could probably leave it here. But I bet Rome catches it too. And I do think that you could probably catch catch a PI call if you got lucky. But kudos to the offensive line. Like, so it's funny. Somebody mentioned Coleman Shelton played really well. I'm not surprised, right? Because to be fair, the Vikings didn't challenge what Shelton is bad at, and I think Jordan would agree with you. Where does Coleman Shelton struggle? With Andrew Billings. If you get somebody that's 330 or more, Coleman Shelton will not win at all. He will not win at all. But if you let Coleman Shelton take on linebackers, you're going to be good. You're going to be fine. Like, Shelton's comfortable with that. Ends up on the ground, sure, but he can bash a little bit. Is that honestly remind me, Jordan, is 52 Grenard? But so tough drop. See, plays like this, maybe I've just watched too many guys. Like, I've not seen a ton of running backs that have the gas in the modern day to get these 9 or 8 yards. This is probably, to be honest, just a consequence of me having watched a bunch of slow running backs. But my honest take here, which is just bizarre, is watching Swift do this reminds me of those Kenneth Walker type guys, where they've just got the juice to get to the backside and churn out a bunch of yardage. And I swear, the moment Swift is against guys his size, he can break a tackle. But until then, no chance. I mean, if a D lineman sneezes on him, he's going down. Also, is it just me, or is Darnell Wright playing a little harder. Like, it feels as if we're seeing, I mean, just as much lean as ever, right? But it feels like Wright is pressing. And I appreciate that. Let's get some aggressiveness in. Honestly, it's so funny. You could argue that Thomas Brown, oh boy, Caleb. Let's see. So what do we see here? Why don't we throw it? Why do we skip DJ? Do we look back for Rome? We look back for Rome? I wonder why. But yeah, that's obvious if you ask me. So it looks like it is stick, flat, then you got to curl over the ball. It's fundamentally spacing. Or from there, like you've got a curl, then you got an out right here. Spacing's kind of weird like this because it's just a matter of where the quarterback feels comfortable. So when Caleb thinks that he sees, I honestly don't know if Caleb knows. Like, at least from what I see, could you force this to commit? Let me put it like, okay, so who is it? Sushil mentions JTO thought he had reads 1 and 2 open. I see why he thinks that, right? So going back a little bit, Caleb right now is inconsistent with Sunday open. Could you put this ball on Kmet? I think you can, but there's a chance that 51 is going to contest it. There are times where Caleb wants to try instead. So you're always making a choice, right? So the choice is option A, Sunday open. B is progress to better. I always see quarterbacks go through this, where you either have to make the choice of pushing the ball into a tight window. This is golf. Or keep progressing through the play and expect a better option to show up for you at some point. There are a lot of quarterbacks that do this, but rookies are especially bad about it. Because rookies don't really like Sunday open. So they want to try to get that college open feeling back and think they can do it with processing most of the time. So it looks like Caleb doesn't really want this. Doesn't really want this because he thinks that 22 Harrison Smith is going to just drive down and light up Swift. And then when he looks back, he sees a defender staring right in front of the guy he actually wants to throw at. Now, I think I would prefer that you progress from here to over the ball, but you don't need me to tell you that because honestly, I think it's pretty obvious. And I'm with you, Jordan, that I think he expects that he's going to have time. I think that it's the NFL. You can't expect that you're going to have time. But it's not an amazing set of blocks by Braxton and Tevin, team sport and all that. But this is wide open. I do think Caleb probably, honest opinion, doesn't love throwing where he doesn't have a lane. So when this guy leans in here, that may be enough for Caleb to think that he's going to bat the ball. Like, new poster, you're stealing the words exactly out of my mouth, right? Where I think Caleb may see this and think that that ball is going to get batted. Is that a good enough reason to not throw it? You tell me, to be honest. But Caleb is not, he's not 3 inches taller, right? There are some of these guys that they can, overhand release it and just try to put it over these guys. But we saw tall 6'4" Justin Fields not be able to get it out there either, right? So Caleb progresses, ends up getting lit up, happens. I think you're right, new poster, that at least as we watch this, 97, yeah, Phillips is right there. Could we flick it out there anyways? Could we potentially use our eyes to move him and then throw it anyways? You'll get there, right? But as a rookie, I'm not trying to tell it. All I'm trying to say is it's a bad play. You can't have that result, right? We go from 2nd and 2 to 3rd and 9. It doesn't work, right? That's not good. But there's reason for it. At least as we go through the film, I always think it's fun to find the explanation. And the explanation is something that I think we can learn from. We'll see if he can apply it. We'll frankly see if he does. I think this, by the way, is Caleb being too excited, and it's probably the worst throw of the day. The second worst is probably the throw to Gilmore. So this, to me, looks like dagger. We get into a bunch set because we're trying to push Flores' coverages over here. I love the front. I love the way that they so consistently drop out. This is awesome, right? Rome is going to fly. I'm probably going to get the routes wrong. It looks like he's running a clear out, he's running a dagger route, and he's running a sit so that we can try to basically run dagger wrap, at least as I see it. So here, I have to do it like this. What's up, Bradley? How you doing? At least it seems to me like the combination is actually these two right here. And you've seen this combination before. It's called wrap. But we're adding a dagger element with the purple right there so that we can try to clear the picture out that much more for Caleb. So at least what I see, Caleb recognizes that he's going to get the dagger, and I think he tries to play with anticipation because he doesn't want this guy to sit on it. Ben, I see what you mean about maybe Rome is supposed to sit. I think it would be very weird if Rome was supposed to sit, because if Rome's supposed to sit, then you're going to have Keenan Allen almost run into him. Whereas the dagger route occupies the same space. We just miss real bad, to be honest. It's great anticipation, but Keenan's a little slow and the throw is a little wide. Maybe Caleb is trying to throw past him, possible, but either way, that's a ball that you're happy you didn't get picked, right? But it's not good enough, is what it is. There's enough of those. If he hit that Noah, you're right, it would have been so sweet. And thankfully, he hits quite a lot of them. But that's one of those plays where you go, woohoo, glad that one didn't happen. I love this kind of play. These little, like, false screens, I think, rule. I would run, or not I would run so many of these. I just like it when you get the tight end out and it's basically a screen, like a one-man screen to your back, but you also don't need your offensive line to make a bunch of blocks for you. This, to me, is the extension of the running game stuff, and I love that there's a blocker in the open space. This and shotgun toss out. These are my gimmicks. Plus, Swift in open space. Use the fact that he can catch. Let's see. We go wide to condensed. Took Swift a couple tries, but he does get there. Look at Swift want to bounce this. I can't believe Swift looks at this and legitimately considers a bounce, only to realize there's absolutely no reason to do it and charges up the middle anyways. Ooh, look at that front. One thing that's just so fun about Flores, you can always tell when it's third down, right? Like, 3rd and 3. What do we get on 3rd and 3? Something real weird, right? At least from the all-22, sure, it looks like this could easily be a dropout with maybe one of these guys coming off the line of scrimmage. But leave it to Flores to respond to empty in a way that makes you go, what am I looking at? And I mean, that's part of the point. I don't know if this was on purpose. I'm going to assume it was, by the way. But I am obsessed with Caleb Williams coming out of this and communicating with this left-hand side with what feels like full intention to throw it to DJ Moore. I am not a quarterback. I don't know exactly what's going on, but it sure feels like Caleb sells, getting these guys to check back onto here so that he doesn't get blitzed from this side, and then flicks it to DJ Moore anyways for a first down that wasn't looking at. Let's see, where does he glance? Yeah, right? Gives it a look at the very least, and maybe it's a 1-2 read. Like, these quarterbacks process information faster than I just about ever could, but that's a blatant signal, and Caleb doesn't work there, which I think is neat. You just don't see it all that often. How you doing, DG? Like Caleb may be legitimately looking there, or he may be using his eyes. It's legit. I think it's hard to tell. Yeah, right, Rozzy? DJ looks like he has some life. Here's another sweet screen. And it's funny, I've seen people compare this one, because is this? No, this is Rome. Go get a block, Keenan. And I mean that positively, like in the good way. That's enough. Rome has been so good on these screens. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm beating a ridiculous drum, you know? Because I talk about Rome a lot. But Rome really does do well every time he catches the football. Therein lies, at least right now, part of the issue. But every time Rome has touched the football, he's giving you more than you thought he would. Catching more, getting more yards after catch, looking good to get there. Rome's been awesome. Also love the like power action that they've got on this RPO. Yeah, I want to cover that. These are the things that honestly happen so fast that there's no way you'd see it in the broadcast, right? But I love that the Bears are actually getting decent usage off of their RSO concepts. Flash a run action, throw it out anyways, catch the defense over committing. It's a pretty easy read. Both of these guys step like 3 yards in towards the run fit. But good call. Give yourself options. If you don't trust your running game, don't trust it. Let two guys potentially go get you some yards. What do we got here? Nothing crazy. This looks like it doesn't look like it's a choice route, at least to me. It looks like it's more of a spacing oriented concept where they go up, out with a sit over the ball. And more than likely, once Caleb sees this guy turn his hips, yeah, that's when you load to throw because you've got space out there. I wish, look, if I got to choose, it bums me out sometimes. Noah, you mentioned lowercase anticipation. I would consider anything where the receiver has not broken yet and you load to throw pretty good. So it's either half anticipation or full anticipation, at least in my book. And somebody mentions that he's about to get lit up. I think I have seen a lot of quarterbacks that are just naive enough to pressure that they don't realize they're about to get hit and don't crunch up. But yeah, no kidding. He's about to get destroyed. So good job getting the ball out. This is why anticipation is so important. Like, not to pick on the guy, because I don't think that there's anybody of the 143 people in here. I don't think that there's anybody who's particularly pining for Justin Fields right now. But Justin Fields probably would have gotten hit as he threw, and people would have gone, "This whole line sucks." And at least to me, that's a huge part of why all this anticipatory stuff makes a difference. You have to get the ball out. It's a huge part of why. Now, I personally wish that the Bears had a receiver that could catch this ball in space and potentially get upfield with it. But we'll get there. Keenan has been, I hope this makes sense. In my estimation, Keenan has obviously been trustworthy and he's good at getting to the spots that he needs to get to, but he's simultaneously just not athletic enough, in my opinion, to make the difference that I think he made at some of his other stops. Granted, I'm not trying to say he's awful or something like that. It's more that in my personal opinion, he does seem as if he's either lost a step or he and Herbert had a connection that made up for a step. Whereas he and Caleb are fine, but it's a much more normalized look at what things look like. Limited is probably a good word for it. This is a bizarre play. So it's foundationally the same read as the double stick look that we looked at. And I'm, honest to goodness, not really sure why we're not throwing that. Like, this to me looks open. I think personally that when Caleb is not 100% certain what he's looking at, First of all, he'll turn it down. We saw that at USC. He's figuring it out. When the nice thing is that for every turn down you get, you also seem to get a seam rip or something. Like you tend to get turn downs that pair with tight windows. And that's fine because ultimately Caleb works back to the other side of the field, sees Cole Kmet, who I don't even know if it's part of Cole's route to go get space. He might just know that he's open, but he does get space and pushes the ball down, which works. There's a day and age where I think Caleb doesn't like these driving corners. Like, I think he sees them sitting down like that and thinks that his guy's about to get blown up for the ball, which might be the case. Caleb can put so much pace on it that sometimes I have a hard time believing that Caleb couldn't just stuff that ball in there without it or while he gets involved. Like, I doubt it. But it's Caleb's decision. Protection holds up. Quarterback makes it look right. It is. A little bit, right, Bradley? New poster, no kidding. I'll tell you what, by the way. I I am loving what I'm seeing from Cole Kmet. This Cole Kmet, oh my goodness. Does this ball get tipped? Yes. Doesn't it? Oh yeah. That feels like a plane tip. Good job, Cole. There's that baseball. Donald, among other things, defense. Among other things. Let's see. We go bunch set, cross the formation, zero look. Oh, what are we running? Whatever it is, I feel so good about it. That sucks. this motion with Harrison Smith dropping, I feel great about whatever this is. Darn shame. I also thought it was so funny hearing Caleb go, "Damn it!" like right into the mic top. I'm saying it because if you watch the broadcast copy, you heard it already. So what, 15 yards? Oh, this is the end of half drive. That's on me for not knowing. That makes that honestly makes the out route to Keenan even stranger. That he didn't just like, maybe he thought they were hunting it because it's the sidelines, but we'd have to ask Caleb. It is amazing how often rookies won't throw for a muddy look. Yeah, no, he's not, is he? Is he, Peyton? All emotion, but at least it works. I think Rome could finish this a little better. I mean, this just can't happen. But it's a good hit by 2. Like if we were gonna make the argument that Caleb was avoiding the sidelines because the Vikings drive on it, they do. It's really good defense. Yeah, Sushil, live it felt like Rome didn't know. Looking at it again, I don't actually know if Rome had much of a chance. He got licked pretty good. Okay, I just realized we're gonna have to just skip the first couple drives. There's no way we're gonna get through this with a decent time, so I'm just gonna go from here to the end. So first couple drives, Keenan Allen. Oh, here, there's like a holding call on the first play of the game. We briefly covered it. Then there's a bunch of chaff that, sorry, it doesn't really matter. You get to the first 3rd and 5 of the game. Bears go empty. Everybody's locked up. Hooray. right? You go pick route that it doesn't have a pick, slant route where I think Keenan gets locked up. There's not really much there. Then you come back across the field. There's not really much there either. Caleb's playing with a timer, which works. He throws. 47 gets a great hand on the ball. Kudos to him. Rome's not really open anyways. Kudos to commit. Watch this. Look at that. I think that's beautiful. I would watch that just about all day. Bang. Yes. Cole Kmet, become the Mark Andrews that I did not think you could be. Prove all of us wrong. Be that dude. Next drive, you get an okay, nothing spectacular duo run. I guess we're covering it really fast, huh? I could probably turn and burn. Then you get a play where I personally think, so I've heard a lot of people talk about plays like this, and I always, look, call me a wuss, okay? But this is how I feel about it, where you've got play down the sidelines, you got a curl right here on the backside, you've got an in, the in's going to come open, okay? From an objective perspective, when you drop back, if you can progress to the in, that thing's about to bust open. But the moment that left guard encroaches on you a little bit, I don't expect almost any young quarterback to stay cool with their feet in the end zone, right? So Caleb getting out of the pocket, extending, and ultimately finding an open Kmet works for me from a mental perspective. Like, at least as I see these, it's like, yeah, if you get locked up 1 and 2, if those are not there, progressing to the backside only really works if that pocket holds. And even then, I see some guys flee out of it. Now, the gripe with this play is that Caleb misses real bad. It's his, I think, second worst miss of the game. The play to Stephon Gilmore is his second most dangerous, but I mean, we expect plays like this, right? Like Caleb Williams, we can ask for a ball on the sidelines. Instead, we get a sinker that looks like one of those plays where, have you ever thrown a baseball and you held on to it for a little longer than you wanted to? Like as it's coming off of your fingertips, it just sticks on your hand a little and knifes down. That's at least to me what this looks like. It's the only explanation that I have, as the ball just dives. And ultimately, it's funny because Kmet does get his hands on it, but like 51 rolls all the way past the ball. So it's so obviously behind him that no, there's no way you're catching that. And Ben, I get that maybe he expected Kmet not to drift. Nah, Kmet's right here. Like this ball is on the sidelines. Every time I've ever seen a mobile quarterback complete this pass, it's a ball along the sidelines. And honestly, it's funny, Jordan. Maybe it's blue and orange glasses. I wouldn't expect to hold if I was the Bears like D lineman, or if I was talking about a Bears D lineman. This feels to me like one of those plays where I have to explain to somebody that, like, yeah, I know that's technically holding, but you're in the end zone and they're not going to call it. Not on that. Boy, that's a tough grab. Exactly, John. You want to make sure the defender has no chance at it. 3rd and 8. Now, I don't personally think that almost anything is here until maybe right now, where maybe you could throw to Keenan Allen. But again, we're standing in the end zone. Say what you will about Matt Eberflus. No quarterback ever wants to take a safety. So you're either planning it right here and throwing it to Keenan Allen, or if you're looking at deeper options, they aren't there. This is locked. This is locked. You got to figure something out. But especially when I talk about that route out here to Keenan Allen, it doesn't help that from the behind copy, you could see that Caleb sees he's about to get hit. So instead, he legs it out. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it in doses, especially because in the end zone's kind of like 4th down, not 3rd down, but 4th down, where it's like, bro, you got to figure it out. Like whatever you do, you just got to be right. You got to figure it out. I appreciate that Caleb doesn't slide here, by the way, because I don't think he gets the yards if he does. Like, it would be, I think, neater if we head first dove, but people don't seem to like to do that. I always feel like it's safer, but whatever. To each their own. DJ with the ball in his hands is always fun. I appreciate the fact that Caleb sees 47 getting in the lane and knows that he's got the time to hit him second window, and that works. 100% numb. It's or numbers. It's could be a dangerous throw. Maybe you could make it. I'm trying to cut every play with the same knife, just because it makes the good reviews better when I cut the bad plays when I cut the bad plays pretty tough. I will always love these. Toss out shotgun run, baby. DeAndre Carter hitting the block, baby. Darno right in open space, baby. Let him go. DJ the Debo roll. Really not what I anticipated, but you know what? If it works, it works. Plus, we're figuring out how we're gonna make Debo or DJ and Rome work. It's like this, I guess. Is that the misses a block? Looks like it's Pryor that doesn't get there. That's gonna happen. Second and 11, probably the most relevant play for folks to see. So Keenan sits down. Caleb, I think, sees an opportunity for Yak right here, puts a ball on him with probably a little too much juice. Like, I'll show it to you here. I think this ball is a little hard. We're bordering on blowing the guy's gloves off. He can throw it harder, and I get that. But also, CTTB, catch the darn ball. If we're moving, it's easier, and we might gain even more yardage, but I'd like to catch it either way. A little too much juice for a throw too close, but at least it's on frame. I think, Ben, I watched so many Caleb Williams passes that were like so woefully off target, where I want to point out the ones that are not abysmal. Right? Where it's like, ball placement could be a little more perfect in the NFL. You're always looking for perfect, but this one does not suck complete. You know what? This play call doesn't make any sense to me. I skipped it because I don't know what to say about it. I don't know what to say. Like, I've watched a lot of offense. This play call to me, I don't know why we thought it would work. Probably, I guess we assumed somebody would blitz, but why to Keenan? Why not to anyone else? I think I would rather see Cole Kmet get the ball. Which is me trying to say, really, Keenan? Like, really? We're Keenan Allen? Like that Keenan Allen? But maybe somebody decided that it would be sicko if it worked. I don't have any idea what they thought was coming. I don't know what check they thought this was. Clearly, they did not get the look that they expected because they get bodied. Then we get the seam rip, and we've seen it from here. So, second half, big dogs. Oh, no, we'll first finish the end of half drive. Woo, sails it. Caleb's got an idea that is not completely terrible here, but the throw's too high. Oh boy, is that turnover worthy? Well, it's just it probably is. No, Starview, no chance. It's definitely too high. Like, we go for the layered ball, we miss the layered ball, we leave it too high. Harrison Smith gets both hands on it. I think that's probably turnover worthy. So Caleb Williams pretty much, if you guys wanted to be really honest, Caleb pretty much did the game everybody wanted from him early in the season, right? Where Caleb was firing, Caleb was relatively accurate, Caleb flashed a lot of arm, Caleb was a little careless with the football. And I don't mean that in like a negative way, more saying like the Will Levis-esque, there's no window that I can't hit. And he did not hit them all. And he threw the ball hard enough that there were plenty of people, or like plenty of these DBs that couldn't catch the ball, right? But that works. Josh Allen type beat, right? A Pat Mahomes type beat on occasion, where it's like, test every window, figure it out. Instead of sit in the pocket and eat 9 sacks, it is just throw it. What's the worst? If you like it, throw it. Just throw it. Sure. I will take that. I think that's exactly the kind of game that leads to development. Truly. You could do all the sitting in the pocket and taking sacks you want. If you see it, throw it. If you're wrong, learn. If you miss hard, right? John, I don't know if he got more velocity. I think in college he didn't need it. Like, you didn't need to throw it a ton. Man. Braxton doesn't even get his block. Oh, this is so good. I saw a bunch of Vikings fans saying, like, blah, blah, blah screens. I'll tell you what. This is butter smooth. Woo! Woo! I can watch that all day. Like, no platform, buzz the ball out there off of play action. There are a lot of looks you can draw up off that. And goodness, man. DJ didn't end up needing it. Casually sneaking Braxton Jones out there in the process is awesome. Like, Tev overruns it a little. But goodness, man. Braxton goes wild. Jordan, what do you mean? An honorable game plan? The only honor is in wins. Yards, baby. If you're talking like it wasn't an honorable game plan because they didn't grind it up the middle, like, I hear you, but why do that? The Vikings are better than you. It won't work. John, if I had to guess, Flores is going to do a lot more drop 7, drop 8. I don't think blitzing Caleb was the answer, personally. Like, one thing that I saw on PFF, I think I pointed it out in the Bear With Us before the game for anybody who listened. Caleb is unusually better as a or better when pressured than he is right now when left alone, right? But so no, I hear you, Jordan. I get it. Like, guys got to do what they can do. But all fans are always going to meet in the middle, right? Let's see. The DJ pass was hilarious and is a great reminder that, like, quarterbacks be quarterbacks. Wait, what? Let's see. Oh, look at Tev. Ben says, let's watch Tev. Oh, yeah, this is the one where Tevin Jenkins just clotheslines Harrison Smith, and he does. And yeah, Joe, bro, right now, if it was me, what I would do against Caleb Williams is pretty much the same game plan that people did against Justin Fields. Being blunt, guys, where you just drop everybody into zones and sit in it. Like, just sit in zones, cloud the picture, make him throw Sunday open. I do think, for what it's worth, Jail, bro, that a lot of these seam windows that we saw are Caleb responding to that type of game plan. But where Caleb is right now, show blitz looks and then don't blitz. Don't do it. Like, drop out of it, put a bunch of guys in coverage, force Caleb to check it down or run it himself for an entire football game. The Peyton Manning thing, where it's like, bore the guy to death. You know he wants to hit you with a big throw. So ideally don't let him. Make him check everything down, force everybody else to beat you. And in my opinion, I think Caleb would struggle with that. He certainly did against Arizona and took 6 sacks in the process. But we will see what the Lions do. I think it's so funny. If a quarterback throws this football, I personally think DPI gets called here. Whatever, right? You live with what's called. I also think Rome is open. So you get that ball out to the corner, and I think Rome catches a touchdown. But I love a trick play whenever I see it. I'm good with it. Whatever. Is what it is. You don't catch all your breaks. Man, DJ, we miss. Bad. Catch you soon, Rozzy. Like, DJ, where do we think we're going? I think there's a chance that the referees looking right at it see Rome initiate contact, which Rome kind of does. Like, Rome runs right into the guy. It would have made sense to be DPI. Like, if you threw it, nobody could argue it. But people would say, come on, the throw is awful. And I kind of agree with that. Right, Noah? Run up the middle. I do not have time for it. Ben, I agree. It's just missed so far inside that it's like, that's tough. So DG, he impedes Rome's route to the ball, no doubt, no doubt. But that right there, once he gets the head around, I can completely understand a referee being like, well, he's got right to the space too. Rome has to go through him. And as long as the guy turns around, or at least makes a general effort to do so, like, you could argue this contact right here is DPI. I don't necessarily think you'd be wrong. But the moment that he flips that head, which he's already in the process of doing, he has the right to the space, which is why the ball has to be over there. Like, it's not necessarily that you got, or that basically we can overthink this, right? Because if you get back around, you are allowed to take up space as a DB. It's how being physical works. I don't think it's definitional, Ben. I think that right there is close to catchman physical. The more I watch it, the more I think to myself, if you called this DPI against the Bears, I'd be mad about it. It's a lot of contact, but you've got right to the space. Weird play for sure. Ben mentioned Sunday Open, 100%. This is something that I saw in the Notre Dame game that everybody hated. Once Caleb sees that he has to throw Sunday Open, he generally will. And that's a good ball right there. Stuff it in. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Here, I'm going to flip through it. We're only going to do pretty cursory analysis because I want to cover as much of the game as I can. So I've seen a lot of people say this needed to be a catch. No, no way. It needs to be a better ball. Caleb is getting better as far as Caleb has gone from wildly inaccurate to relatively inaccurate. Great progression. Now let's get to accurate. But this is outside the frame. It's a miss. Happens. I think that it's easy to get too twisted up on some of this, but it's a good enough route by Keenan. Create some space. It's just got to be on frame. Yeah, this Ben mentions that this is the last second, or Bradley mentions this is the last second fourth down. So maybe you could say that there's an element of confusion that may have rushed the whole situation. And I do think that ideally, if you have a little longer to get in and out of the huddle, that hopefully you play a little more settled. But he blows it off his gloves. Is what it is. It's honestly, not to be that guy, I think there's an element of it where his feet are so wide this way that the throw just comes off a little wide, which is a quarterback mechanics thing that truly you're going to ask somebody else. But from a biomechanical perspective, Caleb will always think he can hit this throw. It's just a matter of learning yourself within an NFL rhythm and making sure that you can. Bears hand it off. Good job, Tevin Jenkins. Ooh, Joe, what do you mean as far as the wrong play goes? And numbers, I think it's a little bit of a snow cone. The second down, great job, Caleb, to avoid the pressure there. I eat this stuff up. Like, free runner, gotta step up. Yeah, I clearly do, Ben. I was shocked that people didn't talk about this more. This was one of the worst drops. this is one of the worst drops I've seen in a minute, which is fine. Who cares? Like, it's not consequential. It's just Swift baskets the ball and doesn't snare it. And I was like, oh, so it's like that then. Especially because the ball keeps going where it's like, oh, huh. Bummer. Ooh, jail, bro. That's tough. That's tough to hear as far as the fourth down stuff goes. Good read on this one. It's stick flat again. Fundamentally. I mean, it is flat, stick. And look at Cole, man. Look at that. That is beautiful. Look at our guy. Look at Cole Kmet and how much he's grown up. Y'all, he used to get bodied in these route stems. Get off of me. And I know, I hear you. Got to complete the play. Ball a little behind. Pressure in our face. They catch us on a stunt. It looks like 51 beats. Grenard wins. Ball is, it's on frame. We want to catch it. Definitely. But y'all, I kind of don't care. In film reviews like this, I care way more about creating some separation, honestly, than I do about one catch. Like, we can use the created separation and use the hands that we have developed. But, like, the route's really good. It's nice that we're able to get the ball out. I mean, honestly, I have seen a lot of quarterbacks where with this kind of pressure in their face, the throw's not clean at all. Caleb steps to his left, so to use the same logic we had earlier, feet pointed this way, throw probably wants to be off his off the frame. Instead, it's just inside, right? So accounting for our footwork, maybe something we could do better at. But you pay a guy $12 million to catch this ball. We don't catch this ball. Hopefully we get the next one. But man, that is a sick route. And you're never getting that call. Here, we'll watch it from this one. That is a worker's route. Whew! Some of them theater, but I honestly think that most of it is Caleb trying to play within a rhythm. And the rhythm, I basically think that Caleb's body is still trying to use the muscle memory from college and will for a hot minute theater. And his mind is trying to play at the NFL's natural rhythm, which is part of why you're seeing what feels like chaos sometimes, where every once in a while, everything lines up and the play looks beautiful. And then the next play, it looks disheveled and messy, is because there are moments like that where Caleb used to be able to just flick the ball out and he can't. Now he's got to put it on the line because the NFL defender will clog up any lane on a ball that he just flicks out into space. But he's still got to do it with a guy at his feet. This is a throw he didn't make early in the season, for instance. Like, I think he actually sky-mailed one earlier, didn't he? Like, it's just a quick throw to the flat. It's just a screen. Like, if you watch Kmet right here, it's a screen. And so he's developing more touch as he practices these looks, whether you believe it or not. But I think he is. Where it's not that you'd never see the same mistake twice. I always think that saying gets interpreted a little too literally, but it's close. Where you're seeing him get legitimately better at lofting the ball over and connecting on these screen passes that didn't connect earlier. 3rd and 6. What do we got? We just got Keenan getting strapped. And the ball's a little inside. This is both and, right? Keenan is line right here. Keenan bubbles relatively badly, right? So that blows our rhythm because, quickest distance is a straight line. You're probably here. But there's also always a time and a place to just see where the guy is and put it on him. Bad connection, right? Right, Ben? I always think it's okay. In my opinion, I always think it's easier, especially looking at some of this stuff, and to say they didn't connect. And you can point at a route, you can point at the throw. Neither works. 40-40 rule again, right? The throw can always be better, and also Cole should have caught it. The route could always be better, and also I would have loved to see Caleb put it on him. Oh, damn. Catch. We want the one-on-one to DJ, and he doesn't win. This is that somebody mentioned, when are the Bears going to try to throw deep? Well, they're not. It's a draw. I'm wrong. This is the QB draw call, and it's awesome. It's just as cool this time, too. Look at Coleman Shelton get out there. He gives it away, right? Heck yeah. A little misdirection. Spark the run game a bit. I told you guys I'm always down for a draw. These days I really am. Bradley, that bums me out. There we go. Improvement from earlier, especially with dude. Look at that. We got somebody flying down the pipe, and Caleb gets the ball out. Good on you, bud. Like I said, we're going to just race through this. Oh, yeah. These windows give me all kinds of hope. Like when I watch this is the stuff that makes me say we are getting a lot better. Because drop sevens like this is drop 7 coverage. Caleb, Fields, Mitch, a lot of guys just wouldn't throw this. But Caleb sees the window and is just going to feed it through. I mean, truly, every ball where there's a defender with an outstretched arm, that always gets me, man. Woohoo! Great job, Cole. Chi-Town. The Vikings don't have huge dudes, but yeah, I do think he's playing better. Noah, Shane Waldron's so close to ruining this. Woohoo! So it's funny. Somebody mentioned Bradley. You mentioned that the line is playing better with Thomas Brown. Yes, I also think that Caleb Williams running has a lot of these linemen playing contain a little bit more often. Even just a little goes a long way in these kinds of situations where showing that you can run means that now not everybody can wholesale like this right here. 97. Watch Phillips. Where Phillips, you can see him keep his eyes on Caleb, is trying to defend this hole as opposed to continuing to assault downhill. Now, is it partially because he's doubled? You tell me. But in moments like that, you can feel the impact of Caleb Williams' feet having created opportunities. Dumps it down to Cole Kmet, take the yards. And then I love the fact that Cole gets upfield. Like, 54 has him out leveraged. Ball gets here. I'm expecting a tackle. But Kmet puts a shoulder into him, turns it upfield, and goes and collects another 2.5 yards. Yes, please. I don't know why you wouldn't dish the ball to Kmet more often. This was hilarious, by the way. I don't know what Keenan was waiting for. Caleb's hot. He's got to get the ball out. And I mean, it was so funny seeing that this ball, I mean, literally hits him in the hands. Like, you want to talk about something that I think is just hilarious? The ball literally bounces off his hands. This is very Alshon, look out, it's a missile, if you ask me. Where, like, Keenan turns around and the ball comes off his hands, which is great. Rookie quarterback's getting blitzed, ball comes out. It's all you can do. So, this play call, I don't know who's wrong. I envision that it's Swift because usually the quarterback would throw to the guy who's right, you know? But so I think it works. If Swift goes and gets this guy, I don't know if he would have. Like, 7 comes down with so much force that Swift would have had to get up there and hit this. But he might have. And if you do hit that block even a little, Cole Kmet probably gets a chance to put his foot in the ground. Remember, he's only going to get to here. But we don't, because we miscommunicate. I can't remember. Do they go here? They do, don't they? Gotta do what you gotta do. Woo-hoo. Is anybody open? Yes and no. You could like, this is one of those Keenan takes forever moments, if you ask me. This one I get. They want this. Flores' defense wants that really badly. This, I kind of also get because you have to move away from the pressure, and by the time you reset your feet, you don't think you can get it to DJ. This one, I think you can honestly loft that thing out there. Dangerous, I know. But at least based on, I mean, honestly, it's a matter of, do you think Rome's going to pick the guy? Because if you don't think Rome's going to pick the guy, or you don't quite trust it, then he's in the neighborhood to go make a play on any ball you lollipop. But if we're able to hang in the pocket for any longer, Keenan's wide open. So Caleb feels that pressure on the right-hand side and doesn't want to work with it. Kudos to him for being creative. Sees a guy on the ground, does the rest with his feet. That's probably not the play that you want to make all the time. But this goes back to part of why Caleb was a number 1 overall pick. Look, there are a lot of guys where the moment that they do turn that down, they're hosed, right? But Caleb is athletic enough and creative enough that he's able to create something that gives him a chance to pick up a 4th down that his team really needs. And yeah, this is exactly the kind of pick route that you want Rome running. Like, picks both of them. That's beautiful. Watch Rome here. Picks one, picks the other. That's exactly what you want. And next time you run this on tape, Caleb may just spin it out there on blind faith. But we just had a ball go off of Keenan's hands because we threw it too early. So who knows? Maybe all that was living in our head. But either way, Thomas Brown asked him to go be Superman. On that play, he did. Spin it out to Rome. Skipping it, it's just not relevant. Spin it out to DJ. Y'all, There are a lot of things I love in life. Gotta tell you, watching Braxton Jones run that ball, or like DJ makes it look easy. Watching Braxton Jones in space, oh yes, get him. Talk about easy. Braxton just hops out into space, and the rest is the rest. DJ does a great job avoiding his tackler, so definitely that for sure. But also, Jenkins does a good job too. Look at Jenkins with the double block. Look at Jenkins moving. 1, 2. Easy. Good play from everybody. And these have gotten a lot better from Caleb. The catch, throw. We talked about this earlier. I think it's hilarious that they miscommunicated again. This time in reverse. Keenan wants the corner. Caleb wants the flat. Can't be wrong, or can't be wrong. More like can't be right in some of these cases. So here's the big return. Bradley, we went for it because of the down 8 test. I got to tell you, we're late enough in the stream where I just need you to look that up. Do I agree with what call, Noah? Oh, to go for it? Yeah. Uh, the down 8 test says you should. I am very analytics minded. So at the end of the day, I would go, yeah, I was about to say, Joe, bro. Actually, it's analytics. There's part of me that goes, meh, sure. If the lytics say do it, hell yeah, I guess. This play, who is this? Gilmore is 2 Gilmore. So I love that Caleb tries it. It almost gets picked. It's probably turnover worthy. I love that he tries it. This is that whole rookie year, rookie grading scale thing. Like, I want him to try a throw like that. I want him to see what he thinks is cover 2. I mean, in all likelihood, it is. And if you've got a receiver with a little more juice, you can blow that into the honey hole and get home on this. But great job on 2's part for sticking with this play and almost making an insane catch on the interception, which is nice. I mean, for the Vikings. I'm sure Caleb probably would like to put this ball a little further forward so that 2 can't get back in the play. So there could be an element of a little bit of a miss on this. But Caleb would know. I don't. Because there's always the chance that he's trying to back shoulder Keenan so that the safety doesn't murder him, which both and. Honestly, it's when Gilmore just sticks with it and tracks into the lane that the whole throws idea is covered. And this, honest to goodness, one other piece. We deal with this kind of thing a lot, not just on this channel, but where people will look at a throw like this and they'll say, well, that's all I have space. Like, that's open. And it's like, yeah, these DBs are a little crazier than you think they are. But I'm always down for the trying it. Honest to goodness. I don't think that a rookie quarterback gets better not trying it. It would be great if they just came out of college perfect and never, ever did anything risky, but they don't. I think you got to take the risks to learn the limits. This sucks. I do think that no, it's just a miss. For whatever reason, Caleb thinks Rome's going to get there further or faster than he does. I think he's just excited. Fat airmail. Beautiful route by Rome. Rome gets off, fades to the sidelines. Exactly what you'd want. Bummer. Was that third down? Fourth down. Beautiful catch. 1-on-1. Good throw. But the safety gets there a lot faster. Like, hooey. Good job by the safety to get in on this. Great concentration by Rome to hold on to it anyways. Honest to goodness, these are the kinds of plays where I'm like, how on earth does Rome not get more work? Like, there's a figure it out element. Pretty. So pretty. Truly a clutch catch. That's nasty. Does he progress on that? Ooh. It looks like he looks the defense off to the left. I mean, maybe it looks like that because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defenders over here. So there's really not much read to make. Boy, howdy, 24 does everything he can to get a piece of that. Hot dog. So what is this? The first down miss to Rome? Glad he layers it to DJ well, because yeah, that's a miss. I think it's funny because I really am excited about the positive plays that we saw, but this is also open, and I would like to see us hit it, but I hope it'll come. I like the decision making. That's open. We find it. We just got to layer it. Those got to be better. For sure, X, much better to overthrow it than underthrow it. And honestly, X, maybe this is just fatigue over the last two young quarterbacks that I've covered, but way, way, way better that we see it and we throw it on time. It's exactly where it ought to be, right? And by where, I mean that's where the ball has to go. I still remember when Fields would let it go a full step further down, and then the safety would get over and tip it. And seeing us throw this such that the ball is there, thank goodness. But hey, we got to throw it better. Physical mistakes. With mental mistakes to boot, but physical mistakes. This is just one of those like low platform arm angles where he feels like he's getting a big blitz. Yeah, his feet kind of just do whatever they want. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. But you get one rookie season. Third and 3. Bears sure take their downs. And then does Roshan get in? No, it goes to the 1. I'm close enough to the end of the game where I'm just speeding through it. Good route by Roshan. Loved this play. I've seen a play like this before. I guess Fields did it too. Now that I think about it, Fields literally did this against Buffalo. Talent is talent. Yeah, shoulder dip is nice. The ball's a sinker, but it's there. Go get you one. That is the record-tying pass for Chuck and Charlie O'Rourke. Hopefully he breaks it this week. Oh, pretty. You weren't kidding. It's the same route. Man. Look at Rome running the clear out. The gas he can get on it while fundamentally leaning backwards is wild to me. That's a quick one. Whips it. How you doing, Alex? Yeah, Dad, in my opinion, with a player like Caleb, it's always going to be a challenge to wrangle his feet just because he spent so much of his life not having to think quite as hard about his feet. But you finally get him to use his feet properly and you get a throw like that. It's the whole just because you can doesn't mean you always should kind of thing. Exactly, X. I would argue that's sort of Caleb's big message on this, right? Just because you can does not mean you should. And that's something Caleb's going to have to learn, especially when he's under pressure, because when his feet go haywire, so too does the ball. But I think at the end of the day, we're starting to see growth, and it feels like it's coming off of inspiration, which, hey, that's all you can do. But yeah, he does, James, but that's why the play works. So what? First play. Is this another draw? It feels like a draw. No? What is Caleb doing? Yeah, I guess he just feels pressure and bails, huh? Honestly, that guy, I just think that Thomas Brown has freed things up a little bit. It's hard to explain how, because like the concepts seem vaguely better, but a lot of the concepts are the same. Honestly, X, if you told me that Caleb kind of just cracked under overtime, getting the ball first in the moment, I'd believe it. Like 51 spooks him, and then on the next play, you get Caleb trying to win the whole game on one. Have to get rid of the ball here. There's stuff that we found or that we pointed out earlier. Here's the sack. I'll just play it in real time. But you got to get rid of the ball. This is one of those plays where you just made a game tying play. This is a game losing play. Yes, you want your defense to get you a stop. Just because you make a game losing play does not mean the game is over. But if so, Donald, I think Caleb has to be the primary culprit. Other people have an assist in it, but somebody has to be the primary culprit. You have to get the ball out somehow. Even if that's just right here, you bolt hard to your right. Like instead, he freezes. But if at this moment he bolts hard to his right and flicks the ball out, nobody's calling anything. James, I'll be honest with you. I've seen Caleb choke up in so many situations where he then comes back and plays better that part of me just feels like I'm watching what's the word? Part of me just feels like I'm watching a kid who's gets deer in the headlights every time he's in a truly new situation. For better or for worse. Delay game can't happen there. Yeah, nerves. I think Caleb was without a doubt a net good in this game. That play was really bad. Honestly, this whole series in overtime is pretty poor. Like the first play where he gets spooked by pressure, we can handle that better. The second play where he takes forever, we can handle that better. This play, natural consequence of the second play being so bad, and then the game is over. Got to take your chances. You don't know if you'll get another one. Let me put it this way, okay? Like, oh yeah, Ben, these are some of my favorite concepts. It's a screen that's dialed up to look like a passing concept. So it's ideally an anti-deep defense screen. Like the aim is to catch people that are playing sticks defense. So the hope is they just sit here like this and you send these four guys down the field to go block for you. Oh yeah, it's a surprisingly common call on these like 3rd and 20 pluses, but it does work from time to time. and I mean X, exactly, where he overcompensated from play one to play two, because that's something that I know we've seen is Caleb will go from one end of the extremes to the other end of the extreme. Notice Patriots, 9 sacks. Immediate next game, never throws the ball and runs for 70 yards. Ping, pong, ping, pong, ping, pong, ping, pong. And then he finds that middle and he's starting to play better. It's part of the rookie roller coaster. You go back and forth, overcorrecting from one play, learning the right lesson on the next one. What I appreciate is that this is the kind of game where Caleb has something that he can take away and grow from, good things and bad things, as well as Matt Eberflus gets egg on his face. But I am past my bedtime, y'all. I appreciate you. I hope this was a fun stream. Hope you're enjoying the season. We got a fun one coming up on Thursday. I hope it's not a bloodbath. The last two haven't been a bloodbath, so they've got me hopeful that we're not looking at a bloodbath, but it's the Lions, and they have just been bathing in their enemy's blood. So we'll see if that's us. God knows Demo is going to get the team stoked to play the Bears because they love their guys. They love their guys. But I'll tell you what, my number right now is 245. Hit that 245 number week in and week out, and the Bears have a chance to set or reset a record that I would like to not hear about anymore. And then in year 2, we can start to look at Caleb 4K. But we'll get there. Maybe one of these days we'll get to Caleb 5K. Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Bear down. And thanks for bearing.